Shirley was supposed to be on Zoom. I don't know if she's on yet.
I'm in the Zoom. I'm in the Zoom. Sorry, guys. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, got it.
It's okay, it's okay.
Angela?
I hear.
So peaceful right now.
Good morning.
Yes.
How are you, buddy?
It's okay, baby.
Grace?
Hello, my.
Yes.
Oh, you're sure.
Okay.
Here.
I think you're.
Steven?
Oh, you're over there.
Steven?
I'm here on Zoom.
Ken?
Yes, here.
Natasha? Here. And Benjamin?
Okay. So. 7. I need one more, don't I?
Myself out.
Okay, so we're gonna hold off on.
Oh, you good?
Oh, never mind, I can now. Perfect. We're gonna go to the resolution first. So Angela, your resolution, we're gonna have you read it, and then we're gonna see if it has any questions, and then we will vote.
Right now?
Yeah,
Oh.
you're up first.
Okay. Resolution to ensure fair and reliable transit access for all New York City students. Sponsored by myself, sponsored by Stephen, Kendall, and Stephanie Carlotta. Approved and adopted at the April 15, 2026 calendar meeting, business meeting. Whereas certain students, including those living within a half mile of their school, students receiving yellow bus service, and students with disabilities utilizing alternative DOE transportation are currently not eligible for a student Omni card. And whereas many students participate in after-school activities, extracurricular programs, family responsibilities, and employment that may require the use of public transportation, even when they live close to their school or receive yellow bus service. And whereas not all families are able to easily afford public transportation, and some students manage multiple commitments and complex commutes that require frequent or maximum use of available rides. And whereas access to public transportation supports students in developing navigational independence and expands access to educational, cultural, and personal growth opportunities throughout New York City. And whereas Chancellor's Regulation A801 was last updated in 2000 and may no longer fully reflect the transportation needs of students today. And whereas students' Omni cards may be flagged for potential misuse by the MTA based on guidelines that are not publicly available after NYCPS is notified and schools are directed to deactivate the cards. And whereas students with complex living circumstances may be disproportionately impacted by card deactivations, resulting in disruptions to their access to public transportation. And whereas there appears to be limited publicly available information outlining NYCPS procedures for addressing flagged student Omni cards and for ensuring students are appropriately informed. And whereas student Omni cards may be susceptible to damage and limited availability at schools can contribute to delays in replacement. And whereas Students without access to a functioning student Omni card may face increased transportation barriers, which can elevate their vulnerability to enforcement actions and other risks. And whereas the Education Council, CEC, for District 25 seeks to promote equitable, reliable, and developmentally appropriate transportation access for all public school students. Therefore, it be resolved that NYCPS, in collaboration with the MTA, be encouraged to provide student Omni cards to all public school students, regardless of the distance they live from their schools or their eligibility for alternative transportation. And be further resolved that CEC 25 urges consideration of amendments to Chancellor's Regulation A-801 to ensure all students have equal access to public transportation, reflecting the transportation needs of students today. And be further resolved that CEC 25 recommends the expansion of student Omni cards to provide unlimited rides year-round to active public school students. And be further resolved that CEC 25 recommends the establishment of clear procedures regarding deactivation of student Omni cards flagged for misuse to ensure affected students are properly informed and provided with a replacement when appropriate. And be further resolved that CEC 25 encourages future students Omni cards to be produced using the same durable plastic as standard Omni cards to promote greater reliability and reduce the need for replacement. And be it further resolved that CEC 25 urges consideration of improvements to the fulfillment system for student Omni cards to help ensure schools do not experience delays in receiving new cards. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be transmitted to the Chancellor for consideration.
Okay, does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns from the council? Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
I didn't sign up, but
You could, if you have a question, you could ask.
no, I just want to say I support this. I'm dealing with parents or students having Omni card issues at school. Some schools are better at getting replacements done. There are some schools that are pretty good. But then my school, we've had weeks of not receiving replacements. You know, parents, we don't want kids to start evading fares, so they're paying out of pocket until they receive the replacement card. And, you know, it's not acceptable. I mean, you know, I'm dealing with high school parents. These are, whether you're in elementary, middle school, or high school, certainly for our high school, kids are commuting all around the city. So we need to get a lot better about this. Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody on Zoom? You have anything? Okay. We will go to a roll call vote.
Eden,
Yes?
Shirley,
Yes.
Christine, Angela,
Yes.
Amy, yes. Vincent,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Shauna,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Motion passes for this resolution, so we will get that submitted. So thank you, Angela and team. I think you guys move forward. No. So next we are going to call on Arlene Laverde from the Queens Public Library.
I'm just gonna pull up her presentation.
No worries. We appreciate you coming.
I appreciate the invite.
I
I'm
know
a
that
little
Steven
nervous.
set you up with coming for us. I know
Sorry about that.
Appreciate it.
He's not allowed to have strep.
Don't tell my mom.
Oh, no, I'm his mom's friend.
Aww.
Okay, I'm curious as to how to get around. I'm
No
not.
matter where you are, it's gonna get
It's
you.
gonna follow you.
Oh, okay. How will I be able to change the slides?
Okay, Dr. Mike, can I send you her presentation and you can share screen?
Of course.
Thank you
Okay,
so
I'm
much.
so sorry.
No apologies.
So I'll start while you pull up everything.
Yeah, sure.
I have my notes. Thank you so much for allowing me to come and speak with you. I'm here to talk about something that impacts all of your students and all of the students, not only in District 25, but in New York City. And that is the access to certified school librarians in every school. I'm Arlene Laverty. I want to say I don't have like a dog in the fight. I am a very recently retired New York City retired educator. I spent 35 years in the New York City public schools. Half of my career was in an elementary school as a teacher, and the other half of my career was as a high school librarian, and 2 District 25 schools was the majority of my career. I spent 5 years in John Brown High School, and the remaining 10 years of my career was at Townsend Harris High School as their librarian. In District 25, there are only 7 school librarians in your schools, which is a travesty. Across New York City, there are over 1,600 public schools, and in those 1,600 public schools, only 273 have school librarians. So it's not just a District 25 problem, it's a citywide problem. That's 15% of our schools have a librarian. New York State law requires that every secondary school have a certified school librarian on staff. New York City has applied for waivers from the state, which they've received, so they've been able to get around that law. Elementary schools are not required to have a librarian. They're required to have a library space, but no certified school librarian. And I will be 100% transparent with you. That's just having a book room, right? Without a certified school librarian in your schools, you are just have a room with books, and maybe you have somebody circulating books. District 25, the issue, as I said, is urgent, and you serve approximately 35,000 students. 7 librarians for 35 students. It's not even 7 schools, because one of the high schools has 2 librarians staff. John Brown has 2 librarians on staff, so it's really 6 schools with librarians. It is a huge loss of teaching. One of the most important things I want for you to understand is that New York City school librarians, New York State school librarians are certified teachers. We are teachers like your math teacher, like your science teacher, like your French teacher. School librarians enter schools under a professional certification with a master's degree. Don't worry about it, I'm just going to talk. With a master's degree already under their belt, right? So people, unfortunately, have the stigma stereotype of librarians are and I didn't put my hair in a bun, even though it's really hot, because that's our stereotype. We're hair in bun, glasses wearing, shushing. Now, I was a librarian for 20 years. I shushed plenty of kids, plenty of adults too, but that is not our job. Our job is to teach our children, our patrons, our parents, our teachers about information literacy, about media literacy, about digital safety. And it really should start in kindergarten, right? Librarians, people think we're all about story time and books, and don't get me wrong, reading is fundamental, it is priority number 1, but our children, as young as 3, 4, and 5, can learn basic research, answering questions with facts finding information and looking at information and determining whether or not that information is safe, is factual, is somebody's trying to sell them something. Our kids are smart enough to learn those skills, right? We are not, as librarians, we are not support staff. We're educators there to help everyone in our buildings, to support the curriculum, to make our children independent readers, right? We support the whole child. The school library, when you go into school libraries, and if you can ever visit Townsend Harris Library, it is a safe place welcoming to all students, where students have access to diverse books, where people in the community, with kids and characters that look like them, with the same problems that they face. We learn empathy first from reading, and we learn about other people from reading. And librarians can help build those relationships with children and books, right? Right. I did my nose try, sorry. Now, a lot of times you'll get pushback from principals and superintendents that students can visit their public library, and I am not saying no. Students can absolutely visit their public library, but we're talking about an equity and access issue, right? Public libraries in some communities are far from where students live, and they now require an adult to take them, especially in elementary school. Right? They have hours that parents are working and cannot necessarily take them to the library. Having a library that's staffed with a school librarian allows instant access to books, information, technology, and instruction. Right? Public librarians serve the entire community, while school librarians serve the school and are able to build relationships with your children and understand what their needs are. I can tell you dozens of stories of working with students and helping them find the right book, find the information that they need for a project, talk to them about things that are going on, and giving them resources that help them get through the things that they need. Right? As school librarians are teachers of inquiry, information, media, and digital literacies. Now, as a school librarian, it's like I feel like people think, well, you're a librarian, so this is your passion project. You don't quite understand that schools have budget issues and things of that nature. And I am 100% hoorah libraries. I'm all about the libraries, but it's not just my philosophy. There's decades of research behind the fact that schools that have strong library programs that are backed by a certified school librarian have better test scores, have students that are better students in reading and math, that build independent reading. As a high school librarian, I spent a lot of my career teaching students things they should have learned in middle and elementary school. Things like plagiarism. And as an elementary school teacher in the beginning of my career, I say this humbly. Elementary school teachers, we teach our children how to plagiarize starting in first and second grade. And not intentionally. We ask them to find the answer. They find the answer from a book. They copy the answer from the book, and we say, wonderful, 100%, you got the answer correct. But copying straight from the book is plagiarism. If we can teach a child to say, I got the answer from page 22, that's the beginning of a citation, and they can learn that in second and third grade, just like they can learn to find the answer in a book. School librarians can help students with that. I supplied you with a couple of research articles that support school libraries and the importance of school libraries for your children. And it's so important that we understand how much school libraries and certified school librarians offer. Because without a certified school librarian, you only have a room with books. New York City Department of Education has an entire office around school libraries called School Library Services. Melissa Jacobs is the director of that office, and she is able to help schools find certified school librarians that fit their community and help support the schools in running and finding great school library programs. School libraries offer social and emotional health, mental health activities. School libraries are safe places for students when the stress of school and stress of home life just gets to be a little bit too much. It's a place for them where they can breathe and just enjoy. Right? We can talk about classroom libraries. Classroom libraries, if you're lucky and you have a teacher who has the funds, can be up to 100 to 200 books that are curated for their classroom and usually is very leveled. A school library is not leveled. That means if your 8th grader wants to read a book like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, they can. I am a graduate student twice over, and every once in a while I want to reread Little House on the Prairie. That doesn't mean that I can't read something more sophisticated. Little House on the Prairie just brings me back to my youth. Having a school library lets students build independent reading with the things that they want to read and that they're interested in. I hope that you will fight for school libraries and certified school librarians in your children's schools because they deserve it. Because school libraries will help prepare them for research and digital safety and digital literacy from today until they are adults. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, I am more than willing to answer, but I was a little nervous. Yes.
Thank you for your talk. A couple of questions. I'm just curious what the reason is that New York City gets this waiver from the law.
I will be frank, I don't know how or why they get this waiver. I do know I've spoken to many admin in my crusade for getting school librarians. A lot of the times the problems around school librarians is that people don't know what we do, right? They think school librarians circulate books, and we do, but that on a list of 10 items, that's number 10, that what I do. I can get a parent volunteer to circulate books. I can get student volunteers to circulate books. That checking in and checking out in the public library, it's not even the librarian doing it, it's a clerk, right? We are about curating collections for our children. We are about teaching. That is our primary role. Teachers. So a lot of times, because admin doesn't really know what we do, they're in, I can get someone from the PTA to do this, and it'll be fine. And it's not.
Stephen may have mentioned to you, we actually passed a resolution last month unanimously for a library in every school. But I guess my question is, how else would you suggest that parents do fight for this?
And so after I
think
walked, I felt
parents need to be very vocal about it, right? They need to go to leadership team meetings in their school. They need to go to PTA meetings with admin about wanting.
Worked some in the office, didn't really do anything real difficult. The telephone
If you're
meeting
on Zoom,
definitely.
can you mute yourself, please? Thanks.
I got him. I thought it was going a little bit.
We were all going crazy here.
To be very vocal about what they want and what they need, and to have people come in and speak about what librarians do, about what they can offer the school and the students. A lot of times, like, I was a classroom teacher, and I was a classroom teacher a million years ago, it feels like. And your classroom time is so structured and so regimented about math, reading, science, social studies. So to promote other literacies, media literacy, which is going to be mandated by New York State, digital literacy, information literacy, in the classroom can be overwhelming for a classroom teacher. So to talk to the admin about how school librarians can take on these teaching roles, because we are teachers, and this is what we do. Aside from making sure children get to read for pleasure, right? One of the things as an educator and as a school librarian I have personally witnessed is school and classes and classwork and homework and reading assignments kill the love of reading in our kids, right? They don't want to read anymore because we got to take a test and we have to answer 57 questions, and the canon literature hasn't quite changed since I was a student, right? There was so much robust children's literature, young adult literature for our students that we can connect them with, that when they read it, and I can tell you when I worked in school, I had a student, African-American girl, and she borrowed a book, and she loved it. I wish I could remember the name of the book, but I'm like blanking right now. And on the book was a cover of an African-American girl that looked just like her. And she came over to me and she goes, Mrs. Lieber, if we had more books like this, I would read all the time. And I was like, guess what? We're in the library. We have more books. And here's one, and here's one, and here's one, and here's one. Whereas the library can support all of our students, all of our diversity, all of their needs. Other questions?
I'm not sure if this is really something that you can answer, but
I try.
So fundamentally, on a student's day-to-day life basis, is there a discrepancy or a large difference between students who have access to a library and students who don't? Like, are they scheduled for library visits so that they can interact with the librarian, or is it just kind of like a resource that's available to them?
So in elementary and middle school, so in elementary school, usually the library is treated as a cluster position, so like a specialist teacher, where classes are scheduled to go to the library, receive instruction, borrow books. Usually it's on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. My personal opinion, if that's what you can do for your school, and that's how you get a school librarian into the building, wonderful, because I do understand you're paying a teacher line for a librarian. Ideally, the library is a place of collaborative learning. So this librarian is not scheduled for classes, but you teach math, you teach science, you teach English. You and I work together on a research project for your math students, whether it's figuring out how the Pythagorean theorem, which I know nothing about, but figuring out how we utilize that in everyday life. And we can work together as a team to teach our students how to research this math concept, right? Same thing goes for English, same thing goes for foreign language. I have collaborated with teachers across the board. And then the library can be open when I'm not collaborating with teachers for students to come in during lunch periods, sometimes after school, to borrow books or for fun programming, which is fun programming but educational, fun, team building kinds of activities as well. But if you can only say we can only do this as a cluster position so teachers can have prep periods, librarians can do lots of research, lots of digital literacy, lots of media literacy in that regard also.
I think practically speaking, I'm trying to figure out how can we sell this idea to more schools, and what we as a CEC can do other than passing this resolution, and then there isn't any activism there other than passing resolution. Is this something that we would discuss separately to prioritize, or?
We can. I know we did submit the resolution that we voted on last month. We can discuss that further.
So much of this lives with, and conversations from your standpoint, certainly from the CEC during district leadership team meetings, and then conversation at school leadership team meetings, because that's where a lot of this is going to live. So part of the conversation I'm going to have with you guys tonight around budget in terms of District 25 is where this conversation lives, and whether or not a budget can sustain a school librarian within it. And the deciding bodies that engage in that conversation are our parents from within our school leadership teams, our building leaders, and what they can do in terms of organizing a program that supports the addition of a librarian to a school. Now remember, schools already have a staff that is organized based on the funds that they have. Oftentimes adding an additional one that's not already programmed, meaning programmed that every class has been supported with a cluster position, where programs are filled, including a librarian. A librarian can't just have open periods inside of their program. Much like any other teacher in a school, they have to have a full program like anyone else. So whether that's through the lens of sign up, where teachers will organize in terms of research, which is when I was a principal, I had a librarian at the middle school level, and they would organize themselves in terms of where we have X project that needs to be done, let's bring our kids in here, let's bring them through the lessons around how to research and so on. So, but a lot of that's predicated on school budgets and whether or not they can afford adding additional coverage to their school. If there happens to be a scenario where we have staff that have now moved on, either they retired, left the building, and now you have open positions, it can become a conversation around, well, what's that new cluster that we're going to create? Are we going to have the science cluster? Are we going to have the tech cluster? Are we going to have a librarian as part of a cluster? Those are all conversations that we have at the school level. Unfortunately, there's not always the space, and I have a bunch of schools that pop into my head right now, that if you said to them, we'd love for you to add on a school librarian, they will say to you, great, find me another $100,000 inside of my budget, and I'll be happy to do that, right? And those are the types of things that it kind of, how do we make sure that you can organize for it inside of a school, and budget often is the big reason. I don't think it's because folks don't have an interest or they don't value the importance of having a librarian. And, you know, I had one in my school, and there's a reason, because I valued it as a principal. And certainly would value it in this seat, but it's just whether or not schools can support that in their own buildings with the budget that they have. Now, if there is an advocacy within the context of the resolution that they offer additional funds for schools to do that, that's a different story. That's often what winds up creating the space of can we or can't we inside of our buildings.
Do you work with the New York City Public Libraries?
Yeah, I actually, when after I retired, I got a job as a Queens Library outreach librarian to work with the school libraries with the program called My Library NYC, which is a partnership between school librarians and the public library to get more resources into the schools who are a part of the My Library NYC program. So being a part of the My Library NYC programs brings class collections of books into the school for research purposes, for book clubs, brings author visits into the schools, workshops where we as outreach librarians give workshops to parents, to teachers, to families, and we also, as Queens Library Schools, we get library cards for all the students that are a part of the program.
Can you can I find more information on that online, or?
Yes, that would be My Library NYC. Yeah.
In my child's school, unfortunately, due to space, they have to get rid of the library. I know it hurts. So I was thinking maybe working alongside public library to get the mobile.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's something. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Did anybody else have anything? Because I think we had one hand raised originally in the chat.
I have a question.
Yes.
So for the, do you think, AI will
So,
much impact
AI, that's a great question, because as one of my jokes about AI is we don't learn from media and the Terminator. It's I don't understand, but AI, Wikipedia 20 years ago, and teachers and educators were very much against Wikipedia when it first came out. It's here, and it's going to stay. AI, as a librarian, one of our roles is to teach people how to use AI responsibly, right? Because there is a responsible way to use AI. Kids are going to use AI.
Going down the AI path.
We've already seen it in the high school, them submitting papers that have been AI generated. It's important and responsibility as educators to explain to students the dangers of using AI coldly, about how AI makes up facts and makes up research to help support your projects. Like any kind of technology, teaching children that the technology is only as good as the user sitting behind the screen. I can have a $10,000 computer. If I don't know how to use it, it's a $10,000 paperweight. But part of the instruction right now for future school librarians, because I teach at Queens College the school library program, is to teach librarians about AI, its impact, its environmental impact on using it responsibly, and how to mitigate it.
Okay. We do have one hand raised. C5, you had
CS, I think.
or CS?
CS,
You had a question? You can come off mute.
Hi, Eden.
Ah.
Hi, guys. I came on the right night. I love librarians. I had no idea she was going to be speaking tonight. I love paper books. I love I just wanted to just offer a little word of support because I did actually come tonight to speak on a digital issue, but that's not what I wanna say right now. I want to respond just to this to the library issue that we have a beautiful library at our elementary school. Eden, I would love to see a librarian back in our library. I think that we are leaning too hard on digital schooling tools and getting some more paper and pencils back into the classroom. I think that gives a much richer experience to the kids, and a deeper connection overall. And when you have someone like a librarian that can provide a wider range of resources to the kids, I think that's a great resource to have in a school. Somebody that could really connect them to all of those books. So if there's an opportunity to speak later on my other issue, I'd love to do that. But I just wanted to say I'm in full support of reopening our libraries.
Thanks, Catherine. Catherine's one of our prior council members, so.
Hey, Catherine.
Always want a library supporter. Libraries are about learning, and they're about learning globally, right? I want to leave you with just this. I want you to think about your social media accounts and the adults that you follow and follow you on your social media accounts, and how many times a friend, someone you respect, someone you think is educated and well-informed, has shared something that you know is incorrect, right? Not maliciously, not under harm, just because it was a clickbait kind of headline, and they're like, I need to share this. And how many times you sat there and said, did you read the article? Do you know what's going on? Like, one of our roles is to teach our students how to be responsible community members, to make sure that when they're sharing information, they're sharing factual information, right? They're sharing information that has been vetted, that they're reading information that has been vetted, to make sure that they have quality as opposed to confirmation. So thank you again for letting me speak. If no one has any other questions.
Thank you.
And I left my email on the slides, and if you have any other questions, if you want any other suggestions, I'm more than happy to help out in any way, because this is, my children have graduated, I am retired, but this is still so very important to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to turn it over to Dr. Mike for his Fair Student Funding presentation and then his superintendent report.
Okay, which order do I do it in?
Whichever order you want. Go for it.
And let me just say what I mentioned to Eden is that this is something that we can bring up during our district leadership team meeting next month, just as an opportunity to kind of raise it across schools and share the perspective of the CEC, but also the resolution that has been passed. And when opportunities present themselves, certainly at schools and budget is available, perhaps it becomes more of a conversation than what already exists to create more of this opportunity and space inside of our building. So we can bring that up during our next district leadership team meeting. Eden can share that from the perspective of the CEC, and we can engage in a conversation about it in that space. Does that make sense? Yep.
It sounds like it's really more at a school level than that.
So the only thing is, from the district leadership team perspective, we can then share that out more widely to all of our schools to think about. As part of, from us to them. As a district leadership team, here are some of the things that we've been discussing. Important, added as an agenda item to your work moving forward. And if possible, in some schools it won't be possible, just based on financially they won't be able to do it. But other schools that might not have one currently, given the current budget, might be able to do so moving forward. It maybe it's just not part of their entry point, and school community has to decide that, in terms of whether or not that's what they want right now. Right? Okay. All right, guys. Well, good to see you as always. Let me close out of that presentation, and you do not need to see my email. But we'll go through my presentation. Today, we'll get to the budget in just a moment. But we're going to go through, as always, celebrations, updates, reminders. I'm going to engage in an AI conversation with all of you, as I'm hoping that you've seen. The central team has shared a framework of sorts to begin the conversation around AI and what that means inside of our schools. And I'm going to go through just a couple of parts that are in the guidance that was shared. In the event that you haven't had an opportunity to do it, we're going to spend a little bit of time going over the bigger points tonight. And then I'm going to share the link with you that I'm hoping everyone takes advantage of and share some of those kind of questions that might still be burning for you, things that you don't particularly feel like the guidance currently says, so that you can add some of that feedback in, so that when they start coming together on a final piece, it includes the things that you have to say. What I always say about feedback in terms of surveys, oftentimes we give survey and you're like, oh, do I really have to fill that out? But then when you see the final product, you say to yourself, well, why didn't that include that? And it's often because the folks that probably should have added some of their feedback didn't take an opportunity to do it. So I encourage you to utilize that form, add some of your perspective inside of that feedback so that the central team can also take into account when they're making those final decisions. And then I will talk about a little space of reflecting on some citywide priorities, and then I'll do the budget presentation. We did have soapbox speeches that were going to come tonight, but I did ask them to postpone that until May, just because I knew I had to do the budget piece, the AI piece, and my part as well. So they will be coming, and I'm going to share a little bit about that in my updates in just a moment. So, off we go. So, connection before content. You know that I'm always going to add this one into this space. So, a little bit of a this or that. Home-cooked meal or fancy restaurant? If you had an opportunity to choose for yourself, are you a home-cooked meal person, or are you like, no way, get me out, I want to go for a steak dinner tonight? Which one is it that you linger over for yourself? Home-cooked meal, fancy restaurant, which one would that be? Find a little elbow partner, quick little chat around which one you would choose for yourself. And our audience, please, quick choice for yourselves too.
That's it, yeah.
Scenario.
I said if my mom's cooking, I'm thinking home-cooked meals.
I like both, but when you ask, then you said depending. Like it is
Oh, we were saying like, who was cooking?
It's so funny.
When do I have time for that?
Oh, it's so funny.
That
is so
it's called
funny.
DoorDash.
So if it was the person that you were hoping was doing the cooking, what would...
That's why I said, if my mom, I'll take the home-cooked meal.
Exactly. That's a big deal.
Mom's cooking.
So we can get back together. This was just intended to be a little bit of fun, as always, and do a little bit of that connection. Anyone want to quickly share? I heard a couple of very interesting things that I've heard a number of times already. But anyone that would like to share out? Ken, you look like you got something.
Yeah, I would prefer fancy restaurant when would like to have a conversation with my kids.
Oh, I love that.
Fancy restaurant, so can sit down and they will enjoy it. They will listen to you.
I love that. Love that.
I like that idea.
I love that. Anyone else?
Bribery.
Ben?
Fancy restaurant because I don't like washing the dishes, you know.
That is a good reason. Not having to do dishes, I think, is a perk of being able to go out. Anyone else?
Yeah, if my husband is cooking, always home-cooked meal. Yeah.
Is there a specific home-cooked meal that we wait for?
I try like typical Colombian food. Yeah.
Love it. Anyone in the audience? Home cooked meal? Fancy restaurant? Fancy restaurant. See, for me, if it's mom making the macaroni and meatballs, I'm always in for the macaroni and meatball that mom will put on the table. Otherwise, I said this during the DLT. One of my favorite restaurants. If I don't know if any of you have experienced it before, but it's Blackstone Steakhouse out on Long Island.
I've heard that.
Really, really, really good steak.
Shirley said home
I do enjoy that. Shirley said home cooked meal as well. Okay, thank you guys for indulging in that. So, a couple of celebrations. I'm not sure if you've had an opportunity to meet her yet, but we do welcome Jessica Villegas to our District 25 family. She is going to be serving as our Family Support Coordinator. Welcome, Jessica. We're so excited that you are here and joining our team. It took quite a while for us to add a Family Support Coordinator to our team. So we do welcome Jessica. We're really excited that she is with us. And I've said this a couple of times before, but I'll say it again. Huge shout out to Jenny for all the work she did on her own for the past year plus. So a big shout out to Jenny. Civics Week was in March, but it's something that is related to it. We were fortunate that we had 2 students that were invited to, oh my goodness, Melinda, if you're on there, just tell me what museum. It's now escaped my memory. But 2 students were invited. There were only 50 children across all of New York City to this portion of the Mitzvah Challenge, which is around sharing their soapbox speeches across the city. And we had one young lady, Esme, from PS 209, that has now made it to main stage, which is the top 7 students in all of New York City that come from District 25. Her topic was on insufficient lunch at recess time. She came with props and prepared on stage and did a fantastic job. We are inviting her to the May CEC meeting, and we also had Ethan from CPC 379 who did his speech on immigration and also did a fantastic job. So big shout out to them. We included just a little link here. I'm not going to play it for you, but Melinda from our team, Metropolitan Museum of Art. Thank you, Melinda. I don't know how I missed that. Melinda did a fantastic job of recapping every day during Civics Week and what our schools were doing. So if you have an opportunity, I encourage you to go into the playlist and see a little bit of Melinda's message around Civics for All, because it was really, really great work. And we're getting better and better at this every year, and I'm looking forward to our Civic Share Fair that we have in May, and certainly invite all of you guys to be part of it. We'll have soapbox speeches from our schools that are presented, as well as some of the Take Action projects that are taking place across our schools. Liam. This young man is our citywide spelling bee champion from PS 32. He is going to be competing in the national championship in Washington, D.C. in May. Something that you should note about this, which is unbelievable, if you take notice, he is wearing a red and white shirt. That is from the Sunderland English Premier Soccer Club. They happened to notice that Liam was wearing said jersey during said championship. He is now insta-famous. They have reached out to Liam. They've congratulated Liam. They made a new jersey for Liam with his name on it. They invited him to come onto the soccer pitch when they come and visit New York City later on this summer. He's also been contacted by NYCFC, who will be joining them for their soccer club. He's been interviewed by NBC. This young man has become a truly world-known figure, and we're really going to be cheering him on when it comes to the championship in May. And hopefully, he does so well that he'll be on ESPN, because that's who does wind up broadcasting the National Spelling Bee in Washington, D.C. So we're wishing Liam really well, and perhaps we can come up with something really, really creative to cheer him on in May. So big shout out to him and all of his success thus far. We also had our district math family night at JHS 189. Big shout out to our team, Liz and Beth from our district team, as well as Dr. Bradley. We had well over 100 families and kids that were present at 189, engaging in a variety of different math activities and games associated with promoting math thinking. Really amazing work. We're really looking to push this across all of our schools so that we connect with our families in as many ways as we possibly can. And what's so great about these events is when I go to our schools and I am there to participate, I'm seeing families that I recognize on a regular basis. Like, oh my goodness, how are you? And what's even cooler is that the kids get excited about it. They love to see the fact that, you know, Dr. D'Antona is present, and guess what? I saw you at the last event. It's just really cool, and cool for me, but also amazing for our community that we're taking advantage of these opportunities that we're providing. District 25 Cheer Expo. This was fantastic. Big shout out to Diana from our team. We had about 30 schools that were present during this event at Townsend Harris. I'm going to show you just a very, very brief clip. Let me stop share and reshare just so that I have some of the audio. What made me so excited about this event was that every team that came up to cheer were cheered on by every other school in the district. When you talk about promoting community and connecting with one another, this type of event did that. Some of these children have never seen any of these kids ever before, but they cheered for them as though they were their best friends. And that to me is what this entire thing is about. It's about promoting this space of community. And the other thing that struck me about this, at the end of the event, one of the young ladies from one of the teams came up to me and she said, "Dr. D'Antona, I want to let you know I'm coming to this school. I'm coming to this school." Not because she's applied already, because she's not of age to be able to make that application, but she, just by the experience of being in a high school, seeing how enormous this is, comparatively speaking, to her elementary school, she wanted me to know that based on today's event, I'm coming to this school. You know, and I think that's also a big part of what these athletics do for our kids. It promotes team, it promotes camaraderie, it promotes connectedness, but it also allows them to see things outside of their own school and what the possibilities can be. So I wanted to make sure that I shared that with you. Yeah.
Dr. Mike, before you leave YouTube, can you just hit that subscribe button for me?
Oh, me?
And wait, and can you hit the thumbs up like button, please?
Oh, good. So
Like and subscribe.
What you'll also see here is that there were over 5,000 views of this event from our families. So one of our schools has someone who's really amazing with tech, and he had cameras
live streaming
all over the auditorium, the gymnasium, so that you saw different views. You notice that it came from the floor to the top of the gym, to the side, so they can give perspectives for all of our parents that were watching from home, but also those that were watching there. I'm sorry, Stephanie, you had a question?
Oh, I was gonna ask you where the location was.
This is at Townsend Harris.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, Townsend Harris, yeah.
The kids had a lot of fun.
Well, the kids had an amazing time. It was so interesting because the children from Townsend Harris were making their way into the gym so they could participate in it as well during whatever periods that they had, whether it was their lunch or what have you. And they were just as excited as our students. So it was really, really a great event. Big shout out to Diana for all of the work that she's doing there. We are also fortunate. We had 2 different events that have taken place, and you'll notice in the left-hand side is the first in math tournament. District 25 had the regional winner in every grade level, and this is across all of New York City. What's that? That is right. Across every grade level, we had a regional winner. Each of our schools will now have an opportunity to go to Albany to compete in the next layer of this competition, which we are really, really excited about and wishing all of our schools well as they move on. We also had our first ever middle school Game 24 competition. We have winners from 219, 185, 294 at the most recent competition that was held at 499. So big thanks to Principal Mahajan for offering up that opportunity for us in her gymnasium. What I will say about the Game 24 event, I think I'm going to bring you guys the card so you can see what it is like yourselves. It is something that can go right onto an app, and I know there was this idea of tech and the things that it can do that might not be so impactful, but the Game 24 on devices, it allows our kids to really think through mathematics in different ways, the addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and how do they think flexibly around numbers to come up to the number 24. And if you watch kids look at the card that gets placed in front of them, they look at it and they just are able to start calculating, using those order of operations to make 24 in what is a blink of an eye in some cases. So really, really cool stuff. Big shout out to Beth and Liz from our team for organizing. We also had an Ezra Jack Keats Book Award winner from JHS 194. So big shout out to Lizetti Grace from 194 and her supervising teacher, Julie Centiniello, for this amazing accomplishment. So a winning book called Stray was the award winner for this school. So big shout out to her for that.
79, right?
Yep. So also District 25 welcomed our chancellor earlier on this month. Big thanks to Chancellor Samuels for coming. We had several of our parent leaders there. Eden was present. We had our co-presidents of President's Council were present. We were treated by a couple of performances by our kids, from cheerleaders greeting us at the doorway to a small little portion of Finding Nemo where they presented for our chancellor, and then the chorus, which was made up of, I want to say, about 40 to 50 kids, also greeted him in the gymnasium, where students asked a series of questions to our chancellor, which I thought were very, very thoughtful, as well as from our parents. So a big shout out to our chancellor for taking the time to visit our school, listen to our kids, as well as our parents, to support next steps across New York City. This is something that I'm really proud of. I'm not going to go into it in great depth, but we were part of a research study by the Center for Public Research in Columbia University. They did outreach to District 25 to really get an idea of how we went about the rollout of our new reading curriculum, the things that we put in place to make it as successful as we possibly could. So inside of this publication, you're going to see quotes from myself. You're going to see quotes from our building leaders, particularly PS 79. You'll see teachers from PS 79, teachers from PS 32 quoted inside of this document, as well as members of our district team. And basically what you see there, one voice, one vision, many voices. The intention of that is how we promote collaboration amongst each of our constituents to really build a shared understanding of where we want to go collectively. And if you have an opportunity, you'll see our publication there and the things that we've accomplished as a district. Really proud of this publication and that we were able to be part of it as a district community. Summarizing, just a reminder that those that have applied, offers will be made available by the end of April. Those that have applied and do receive that offer letter, there is an expectation that you accept or decline. And I just will say continuously that if you receive an offer and you accept, please make sure that you use that that seat, and don't say that you're coming and then don't show up, because then you take an opportunity away from someone else in the district. So I do ask that if you're planning to come, that you do take advantage of it, but really take advantage of it and attend. Upcoming events, we have the next in our, I said recent in there, it should just be upcoming events. Our next in our workshop series for parents around SEL is around developing friendships with my Child Mind Institute. So if you are interested and this is something that is on your mind, I know as a parent of two high schoolers, as they've gone through their academic career, it's always something that is on the mind, making sure that our kids feel good and comfortable and they have someone that they can connect with. So I know it weighs on the mind of parents because it did for myself. So if this is an area that you feel will be helpful for you, I do encourage you. The sessions that we've had thus far have been fantastic. So I encourage you to join. And our last of our math workshop series for our families will be on fractions, proportions, and ratios across K to 8. And what that means, that will be supported by Beth and Liz from our team. And what I will tell you is the areas that our kids tend to stumble in most at the late elementary and early middle school grade levels is in fact in this space. Parts of whole is a difficult concept. It's very, very abstract. It is not something that I can just see and understand for every kid. So having an understanding of what this means over the course of time is really valuable. So I encourage you guys to be part of it so that you can get a little bit more information around what that math looks like over the course of time. Our second annual Wellness Day, we're going to be sending out flyers either tomorrow or on Friday. The flyer is all set. The date is on Saturday, May 2nd from 10 to 12:30. It will be at Common Point Bay Terrace, as well as 169 in Bell Academy. They'll be opening up their doors as well so that we have opportunities across both the school and Common Point to host a series of events. There'll be local programming. We'll have services there from school food and nutrition. I know Diana is on, and Diana, if you want to just flood the chat with some of the fun things that will be taking place, feel free to do so. But this, I really am looking forward to this event, and I'm hoping to see all of you guys there to support it. That would be fantastic. For those that celebrated Easter, Passover just recently, wishing all of you, hoping that you all had some time well spent with your families, were able to celebrate with each other and enjoy some of that time. I know I was able to do so. My daughter had a tournament, volleyball tournament in Boston, and because, unfortunately, they did not do well on day 3, we were able to race home and at least celebrate a little bit of Easter with our family. So while I hated to see her lose, it was a blessing in disguise because we got to at least enjoy some of the day with our family because of it. This is also, April is Arab American Heritage Month, so a big shout out to our Arab American families and for all those that have contributed to our country's past and present. AI framework. Okay, so this is a,
Mike, is there any word on the middle school acceptance? So a parent asked me about the application process.
When the middle school application?
Today.
Okay.
The offers went out.
Oh, the offers?
Yes.
Yeah, they're out. They went out around 4 or 5 o'clock today.
Someone asked me yesterday.
Thanks, Joe. AI framework. This is a big conversation. Certainly recently. I know we've had it here at the CEC, but you also should be aware, if you're not already, that citywide there has been a framework that's been established to start talking about AI and its space inside of our schools. And I do think it presents an opportunity. I do know that when things like this come around, it creates a little bit of anxiety and a little bit of fear. But I do believe it's an opportunity for us once and over time that we start getting really, really good at its use and application, that it's going to be something that can be used positively to support instruction inside of our classroom, as well as making the work that we do more efficient. So, but having said that, there are things that are organized inside of this framework that is in this red yellow and green light type of system in terms of a traffic light mindset of sorts, where things that we should not be using it for, things that we need to exercise caution on, and things that, you know what, it makes just sense to start using it well according to that space. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about it tonight, but mostly what I'm asking you to do is reflect on and utilize that survey to add feedback within the 45-day window that the team has established to gather some of that feedback. So we have until May 8th, so you still have plenty of time, but I encourage you to really, really think. And that doesn't mean that you have to have an answer or a question today, per se, but if after today, go into that document a little bit more, think more about it. It's not about everyone having every answer just yet, but the things that you might have in your mind's eye might help a really important adjustment to this framework. So, goal of this work, protecting kids, supporting learning, empowering families to really navigate this world of AI that is, front and center. It is here. I don't foresee that changing anytime soon in terms of the technology. It's only advancing at, an accelerated rate every day. So it's certainly about us making the appropriate decisions to support it as a collective community. So there was a family-facing document that was released. All of our schools should have sent that out to our families, and the family-facing guidance is what we're going to be paying attention to today. And there is also a survey that was shared that I'm hoping that everyone contributes to, as I mentioned already. So the space of what AI is versus what it is not, and I think one of the clear through lines that I see in this framework is that it should not be replacing a person. It should not be replacing a human being and the thinking that we have to do as adults. And earlier with the library presentation, it was about making sure that we are being critical consumers of all of the things that we have in front of us. That is students, teachers, principals, assistant principals, parents alike, is that we can't take things just at face value because AI was able to spit it out, right? And that to me is the biggest part of this framework, is that we have to be mindful that we as the consumers of it need to be mindful of what's coming out of it. We can't just say that yes, that is what it is and then share it for the world to see, right? That's the big part of this, and you'll see what it is not is it's not a conscious being. It's not there to understand meaning or exercise judgment the way that we do as human beings. It's not intended to replace the adults that are here for the work. It's not a teacher. It's not a counselor. It's not a school leader. It's not intended to replace the space between families and educators and communities. That's not what it's intended to do. And this is the part that is also important. It's not always accurate, right? And I think that's an important part for us to be able to linger over. It is something that is very fast moving. We know that. My daughter just recently shared with me, one of her teams that she's on was a little bit down. They've been struggling a little bit. And I said, you should really give them some kind of a pep talk. She's a very peppery kind of kid. And so she did. And one of the first questions that her peers asked her, because they liked the way that it sounded, was, did you use ChatGPT for that? Right? So there is this really raised awareness, even by the kids, that this is what is there. And how do we make sure that we're making purposeful use of it? So it is a tool that can help with research. It can help with translation. It can help with planning. Those are the things that it can do. In order for any of this to work, the city has organized, and there's still more to do here, and you'll see that in terms of what this process is. But there is a process called IRMA, and the IRMA process is intended to kind of make sure of privacy and security reviews of programs that are accessible to our schools. So any software program that is added to our New York City, from New York City vendors, has to go through this IRMA process in order to be approved, an approved tool for our schools to utilize. So in December 2024, New York City Public Schools added AI-specific standards to that process. and that's to disclose exactly what AI capabilities the tool includes, prohibits the use of student data to train AI models, and then meet transparency requirements so tools can be explained to families and students. What it doesn't cover yet in this space is the algorithmic bias that can come from an AI-generated tool, the equity impact, or the instructional effectiveness of said tool. So these are things that are still being worked on through the IRMA process, but it is important that you guys know that there is a process that is there to help promote and protect the privacy and security of data for our kids. What families need to know is that the IRMA approval confirms compliance with data and security, but is not the only requirement for tool use. And I think this part is why I say there's a through line here. You see this whole idea of human judgment is required, is that we have to be those critical consumers of the resources that we have and we're putting in front of children. Are the tools that we're using connected with human oversight, and that we're not just taking it for face value. Ensuring that educators know and apply specific age-appropriate restrictions and teach students and families where to find that info. That no personal information is used in unapproved tools, and that we have critical review of the AI outputs. Those are some of the key things that I've already mentioned from the previous slide, but I think that is a huge part of the work that we're going to be doing, certainly moving forward inside of our buildings. Now, this traffic light system that was established, in large part, anything to do with decision-making about kids. We should not be asking about Mike and asking AI to make a decision about Mike and what we know about Mike. That's not what it is intended to do. It's about educators making decisions for kids. So decisions particularly about students, placement, discipline, and so on, we should not be asking AI to make a judgment about that. That's for adults. IEP development, that's not what, we should not be connecting with AI to develop a student's IEP. Educators are intended to do that. Assessing or grading kids and using AI to make a judgment about student learning, that's for, again, our adults that are in our classrooms that are trained to do so, for them to do. Surveillance of behavior monitoring and student surveillance are prohibited. It's not, again, anything that is specific to a child should not be what we're talking about here with the use of AI. Care and counseling, we should not be using it as a counseling space where we're relying on AI to counsel a child. That's not what the intent of this is to do. And this idea of protecting data, really important that we're not using it, filtering in student data for AI to generate, to train AI to make decisions around kids. That's not what the intent of that is. So this is a red traffic light signal for all of our schools when it comes to that. In terms of this space of making sure that we're using judgment. Now, surfacing patterns and trends is something that AI can do for us a lot faster than we can. But it's important that we are exercising judgment and reviewing said information and not just using it at face value. So this is in that space of that yellow section. AI-generated translations of critical communications are really, really important. Again, that we're not sending something out without having it reviewed by someone that speaks the language well. Otherwise, we may be sending things out that are not appropriate, and we do not want that to be the case, including the translation of bilingual instructional materials. If we're utilizing, in many cases in District 25 for things in our bilingual programs, we're fortunate that we have bilingual educators where that text might not be available. They are doing some of that translation for us inside of our classrooms because it's coming from someone who's certified. Similarly here, we're not just putting something in and then accepting what comes out, is what the intent of this. And again, using with caution is how our kids are using it. Yes, it's something that we can help support in terms of research and creating projects and so on, but it's not without support and guidance, as again was shared earlier by within our library presentation. The same type of scenario holds true here. And then lastly, this green kind of, yes, let's proceed with confidence, but also with mindfulness, is brainstorming and organizing ideas, drafting and refining communications, simplifying and streamlining, synthesizing information that we have access to, translation supports, with the idea that we include a disclaimer to say and make sure that families know that this particular translated memo that's coming out to you was generated by or supported by AI, so that there's this awareness that that it was utilized, and we're providing some of that disclaimer within it. And AI supporting the creation of accessible materials for families and communities, as well as PL for families, communities, and staff. These are things that we can certainly, think through as schools and improved ways of using AI in general. So just take a moment in that space of reflection. I know that was a quick entry into this, and if you haven't reviewed it, I really encourage you to do so. I just wanted to get out some of the general kind of things that were out there within the framework, so that you guys can really add some of your feedback in. And I can't stress this enough. I really would love for you to do so when you have an opportunity to. But is there anything that's striking you, anything that's coming up? Because again, this is not because Mike has created it and you don't want to offend Mike about the way that what's in there. It's a great chance to kind of include some of that feedback now too.
Just to give you a little insight, so yesterday there was actually a meeting with the chancellor and some of the base staff,
Yes.
and a bunch of us were actually on that meeting. So I don't know if anyone that was on there wants to chime in with that.
Yeah.
Could I jump in?
Yeah.
Cool. So I was at that meeting yesterday, and a question I had for you, Dr. Mike, because I'll be honest, what came out of that meeting was a lot of "we hear you" and not a lot of answers, especially about very specific concerns that parents had. I don't want to waste everybody's time going through my page-long single-spaced list, but will the district be having conversations about specifics, such as, there's a green light on professional development for teachers. We know that there's bias in all of these models and algorithms. We know that even human-run professional development has flaws. Like, how are we seeing if this is put together, and how are we making sure what the teachers are using this for professional development? And secondly, it says, excuse me, it said that the AI generated data on grading is for advisory purposes. Like, in what way is that being advised, and how are we making sure that educators are making choices on their own and just reviewing data versus taking what's pumped out at face value, which could very well be inaccurate?
Yeah, so a couple things. I think one of the reasons that there is this space of gathering information is so that a finalized tool becomes accessible. I wasn't part of that meeting, so I'm not exactly sure what was shared, but I do think there is an opportunity to gather the input, which is what they're doing now, so that there is a more formalized space of feedback that comes to you guys later on. The goal is by June for them to establish whatever this finalized product will look like. But I do think, Stephen, that as professionals, inside of this field and as educators, where I have an expectation around data use all the time. That is my expectation for all of our schools, and it's not just one data source. It's multiple data sources so that we make good choices for kids. Not because a computer said so, but because this is something that we know of our children. So my feedback to all of our schools will be such. That is my guidance in general. It's never to just make a choice and then make a misinformed decision just because. So there's constant training that we're doing on that across over time, because it's one of the things that I value in the work that I do, is that we make good choices for children. And not just because something that spits something out to you said this. So we do have to always exercise our judgment, which was a common through line in that, and it's always going to be about the guidance that we can provide. Now, can I tell you with certitude that some people, that everyone is going to do that really, 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 really well? No, listen, I think that's why we have to have training, and ongoing support. That's with AI or without.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I totally believe that most folks are use this, as best they can. But I mean, I'm just a CEC member, but just giving my 2 cents. I feel like there should be some sort of like direct guide rails, because this guidance from the New York City Public Schools is really vague on a ton of stuff, to the point where I walked away from that meeting last night, and I know you weren't there, more concerned than when I went in, that there's no real clear guideline. And secondly, sorry, if you're talking, it won't play your audio over mine. But the second thing I wanted to say was, they haven't made a point as to why it's necessary to implement this technology in the schools. They made the case why literacy and learning about it is important, and I totally agree with that. But the argument I keep hearing, even from the chancellor, and I know you don't have control over that, is, well, it's here, we should use it. And I actually don't think that's a very good argument. Just because it's there, we should be implementing it in our schools.
Yeah, so in terms of guardrails, and I always think, and I think coming from the standpoint of, the vision of the work, and I think because there's a lot of newness here, Stephen, I think the vision hopefully is something that's going to be able to evolve over time, and we will certainly get it right as time goes on. So there are kind of starting plates, and I think that's what this was starting place for it. And then being able to add to certainly over time. But from my perspective, in terms of my thinking on why. One, whether we agree with the idea that it is here as a reason, there is a reality to the fact that all of our kids, from our youngest to our oldest, have access to this. If we do not inform them around how to best use, how to most appropriately connect with, then we are absolutely positively missing an opportunity to make sure that kids do the right thing.
I agree with you on that.
It is a 1,000% our responsibility as educators, and frankly, a huge responsibility for parents, including myself as a dad, because it's making sure that we know what they're using, because it is accessible. It's everywhere. Every kid that we have, that I see, is walking around with some kind of a device. They get to put it away in school. As soon as they leave it, as soon as they leave that school, that bad boy is out. And they're using it for something. We need to make sure that we're training them how to use it well and how to use it in the right way, so that they're not producing things that are, in fact, riddled with some bias or are factually incorrect. If we don't do that, then we run the risk of creating a significant number of children that are misinformed. Now, yes, that can come to a teacher, and then we can correct it, or we can make sure that we're educating through the process. So that to me is what I see as the importance behind it, and it does connect to the fact that it is here. That is true. No matter which way we turn it, that is true. But that doesn't change the feedback that you gave, which I think is fantastic, around maybe perhaps we need to get it to be more specific than what currently is available. But that's my 2 cents.
Okay, I appreciate you hearing me out.
Yeah.
Just wanted to jump in. I wasn't able to attend that meeting yesterday either, but just seeing this right now, I think one of the first things that jumps out to me is for the green light on professional learning. With AI, I think a lot of it is like garbage in, garbage out. Yep. So the output that you get is only going to be as good as the data that you're feeding it.
True.
So is there any specific resources or information or data or anything that is being used for the professional learning that the educators are going to be using? Or is it just whatever the large language learning model is picking up from the internet?
Yeah, and I think that kind of calls to Stephen's question around kind of the guidance that we need to provide with folks that may be using it for that purpose. What are the questions, what are the question prompts that we want to use in order to make sure that we're getting the best type of feedback back to design what we want. But again, I think it always comes to the being critical consumers of the work and not just taking things for face value. So I do think that more training does need to happen in the context of this, and I think that's appropriate feedback to share inside of this tool. Can we be more specific? Can we give more guidelines around how we use it for professional learning? And those are the things I encourage you to include in that form. I mean, I can do it and I can say it, but it's always much more powerful when our families are also getting involved in including some of that feedback inside of the tool. Because they can hear it from Mike, but it's much better if it's heard from others around. And if we as a CEC weren't able to join, and we haven't been able to view this yet, then we have to think about the rest of our community that may have received said document, but haven't looked at it.
A lot of people don't.
Right, and haven't really viewed it. So we have to do a little bit more of that outreach. I'm going to extend that again through my own approaches that I can do from the district level. But I think it's an important space. We have about 3 weeks left, 3.5 weeks left between now and the deadline that was set. So yeah.
I mean, just to echo what Stephen said, I think there is a difference between teaching kids about AI and what it can and can't do, and then actually incorporating it into the classroom and thinking that it is going to be a useful tool for learning. I mean, personally, I would love to see actual studies and like concrete ways in which people are planning to use this and what is the outcome before we are implementing it citywide. And for me, one thing that stood out to me was that in yellow is student use of AI for their own projects. I think that when we're saying, oh, well, we need to know that not everything that's output from this is accurate, it's great, but how am I going to use a tool that's regularly spitting out made up facts for research? Like, how is that useful to me? And I think that it's not really realistic. We see adults who should know better, taking things that they get from AI at face value.
Yep.
Is it realistic to just tell kids, oh, check the things that you get from AI, don't just use it for research and then, take it at face value. If we're not taking it at face value, I don't know what, usefulness is, and I think that it can be more harm than good because people do see this very authoritative voice spitting out exactly the answer they wanted, and they have a tendency to take it that way. I think, just a couple of weeks ago, there was a study that came out that I think was in adults, and I think something like 80% of them, when they were solving a task, would just regurgitate the wrong information they got from AI rather than solving the problem on their own. So I think I'm concerned about this even for teachers. It's one thing to say, okay, teachers, go ahead and use this tool. Keep in mind you need to use your own judgment. It might or might not be accurate. I think there is a human tendency to just to really kind of lean on that information. But I think especially for students, that's an issue, and I don't think that just telling them to double check, use their own judgment, is necessarily adequate there.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and honestly, I think that should be layered in to that tool. I really do. I think both what you and Stephen shared I think it's very fair to include that as feedback inside of it. And like most new things, we have to be able to get ourselves really good and educated on the benefits and how we utilize it really, really well. Because I do think that in terms of efficiencies, there are lots of spaces where it can be very valuable inside of what we do. It's just making sure that we're clear on how to do that. Yeah, I don't disagree with the idea that either of you just had. I just ask that you include it in the form.
Dr. Mike, can I ask one last quick question that you may not be able to answer?
I love being asked questions that I might not be able to answer. Stephen, go ahead.
Because no one's been able to answer this question that I asked. Is there the opportunity for parents to opt out of the AI being used in their children's grading and also in creativity? Because I'll be honest, I have people in my life where various LLMs have stolen art designed off their work, and I don't want my child being encouraged to create with something that harms the livelihoods of people I love.
Yeah, so I don't know anything about, that's again something that you can add into the comment section. I don't know that there's any kind of opt-out kind of feature in terms of the tech, but I do think that there are things that we can talk about at certainly, district level, school leadership team levels around the ways that we really want to see, any of this to kind of unfold inside of our schools. And I think it's a great opportunity to have that discussion around promoting that space of creativity for our kids, and that we don't lose sight of it because we have a digital tool that can generate something for me without me thinking, without me actually being creative. So I think there's opportunity for that. That's not something that I've heard, at least not in terms of this framework, Stephen, but I do think that it could be added to the, to that form for sure.
Cool. And I did add it to that because I'll be honest. I think parents should have a chance to opt out of a technology that they ethically and morally disagree with, being put in our schools.
I have two things. First is we do have a pilot program going on at 185. I was working on getting Mary to come. She was not available tonight. So we are still looking to have her come speak about that next month. But also just an example of something, not in our district, but in another district that I sit on another SLT in my son's school, and they actually came up with the conversation about AI because there's a lot of concern of like kids plagiarizing work and like using the exact words, not changing things, and like learning from it how to do it. And they actually added to their like rules for the school what constitutes as okay, you can use this, or okay, you can't use this, and like where it falls into play, and like what the repercussions are if they're going against what that is. Mm-hmm. So it's in the school handbook. So I don't know if maybe schools need to adopt that in there, but it definitely came up at our SLT meeting for my son's school, and everybody seemed to like that idea.
Yeah, no, I think the place for SLT and how we're engaging the conversations at SLT really important, for sure. Yeah.
Excuse me. So I have an observation, right? We were talking about how to use AI, but a lot of parents are more concerned about how the education system will adapt to the changing AI, because they could have maybe they were worried about whether their kids will find a job in the world of AI in the future. Why don't we have? I didn't see it. I mean, why don't we have a framework? Framework that talk about how to develop curriculums to teach the kids. So it seems to me we're very emphasizing on the privacy, the safety. What about the training side? I don't see that in the framework. Maybe we could add that into.
I think that's a great suggestion too.
Right?
Yeah. 100%. And I think that's one of the reasons why they're doing this right now is to be able to hear from as many people as possible that have really amazing thoughts that they just need to be mindful of.
Yeah.
And it is fast moving. There is no question about it. It's a fast moving space, and just within the past couple of months, I feel like it's even accelerated even more just in terms of everyone's consciousness. It's something that will continue to grow and improve over time for sure. And I think it's based on the feedback that we're able to hear from our community members. So I would include that too. I think that's great. Yeah.
Great.
Anybody else?
Any other thoughts?
Good.
But yeah, listen, I know this is certainly a meaty one.
There was somebody with their hand raised that had a question on that, right?
No.
Okay.
Not that I saw any. Okay. Just so that everyone knows, we're going to be doing a district hiring fair on April 22nd. Not anything that you guys have to do, but I just want you to be aware of it. We actually have 450 prospective candidates that will be joining us on April 22nd. The goal is always, while we do have a really great retention here in District 25 for our staff, there's always folks that tend to retire or move on to other positions. So we are holding this fair just to make sure that we have, our schools ready to go for September.
I have a question about that, because I have a friend that's actually attending it, who's looking for a new job, because his was ending in Long Island. And he got an email that said like only certain schools are participating.
Yeah, so if a school doesn't have any vacancies,
then they weren't.
Then they're not going to waste someone's time to come over to them and meet if they know that there's not.
Yeah, because he showed me the email and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Where's the location?
Say again. So this is going to be at 169 in Bell Academy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are any librarians being hired?
So our schools, if they had a need, they indicated it on the form, so we know who it is that really should be directed where, to make sure that they have the right match when they go into the building. We did it last year, it was fantastic. We had a huge turnout last year as well, and a number of those candidates that came wound up getting positions because of it. So, you know, it's a kind of a speed dating type of thing, but you, in the moment, you get to know someone pretty quickly. You invite them for other interviews, demo lessons, and then, you know, they have an opportunity to join STEP. But anyway, just so that you're aware that we're doing that. Say again?
Can we attend?
If you like to, sure. Yeah, you're welcome. Are you signing up on one of the lines, Ken? What are we doing?
He's looking for a job, he just didn't tell you yet.
So, Save for College. You guys know this is one of our goals. We are being challenged, and there's not a challenge that I ever say no to and don't want to meet or get beyond. I am, aside from the fact that I am someone who lives by these types of things and always strives to meet them, when I get challenged at something, I have to be able to address it and meet it. So we've been challenged to meet 80% of our 4th grade learners to receive and activate their account. So there is going to be a big push for us as a district community to get upwards of 80% of our 4th grade learners, that would be the first group that participated in the Safer College program,
Okay, I was going to say, why 4th
to
grade?
get access. What the research shows, and you heard Safer College that came here during our last CEC meeting, that children that have an account as early as kindergarten that is directed towards a college type of mindset are 4 times more likely to go to school than kids that don't. To me, that is an incredible statistic that we need to really push as a district community. So, there is going to be a push from us, there's going to be outreach in terms of personal phone calls to families, to make sure that we're educating them on what the program is, what it's not, what concerns that they may have. I know some of our families get concerned about what personal information do I have to provide, is this just a gimmick? All of those things we're going to go over with them so that they know what it's like. You might also get a message from me if you're a 4th grade parent of me doing a video call with everyone just to let them know that this is happening. I really do want our folks to take advantage of this. In the district, it's about $190,000 right now that overall from K to 4 that we're leaving on the table.
Do you know what percentage we're at right now?
We are, overall as a district, we're at 40%.
What about the 4th graders though?
The 4th graders is a bit higher than that. We have some schools that really need only 8 children and they're at 80%. We have other schools that need 80 children and they'll be at 80%. So there is a big range. We know all of the schools, we know all of the kids, we know all of the percentages. But I'm just letting you guys know in the event that you hear about someone saying, well, why are they calling me about this? It's because we really want to promote the opportunity. It's always going to be a parent's choice as to whether or not they do or do not choose to do it. But we're really encouraging it because of its relationship to future growth. Okay? And over time, what families do need to realize is that the more we get this out there, the more businesses actually are willing to commit to giving donations to schools. We had one school receive a $9,500 donation, and an additional $120 was added to every single student's account. It's a great opportunity. Really great opportunity. We just need to be able to continue to share it and grow it across the district. Any questions about that? No? Okay. Reflection opportunity. And this, guys, can I ask you to take notes for me? Yeah? So we have 3 buckets that I've asked for us to really think about, and these are aligned with some of the Chancellor's priorities. And my question to all of you is, around some of them, is around making sure that our kids are physically and emotionally safe, that our students are engaging in academically rigorous coursework, and that we are creating truly integrated opportunities for them, where our instruction is culturally responsive, where we're using resources that are supportive of our kids' needs, and so on. There are other things there. But what my questions are for you, we'll start with the first one, is what does it mean to be safe? And our high school representatives, I really want you guys to chime into this space. What does it mean to be safe in District 25? What does it mean to be academically rigorous in District 25? And what does it mean to be truly integrated in District 25 from your standpoint? And what we've started is this small little Padlet which if you have the ability to, I'm going to add it to the chat right now for you guys to add in your thoughts. Whoops, where is the Zoom? What did I do here?
You broke it.
I think I did break it. Oops. Where is it? Okay, here's the chat. I'm going to add it to the chat, and I'm talking to you at the same time.
I think you got it on mute again.
I added it to the chat, so if you want to add your notes to that as well, you're welcome to. But this is something that is really important to me that I get some of your perspectives on, because we do need to establish, even though we have our vision for strong schools, you know, we're talking about empowering learners, we're talking about promoting equity and access across our district. I really want us to have a very solid foundation around, from our chancellor's vision to our district, what does that mean for us? Well, what do we want that to be? And this is going to be something that we ask all parents, we're going to ask all teachers, all principals, APs, and our kids to give us a little bit of their perspective, so we have clarity across everyone what we want inside of our schools. So if you wouldn't mind, just take a couple of minutes of reflection on those questions, and then we will open up just for a couple of opportunities for comment, and we will move on. I don't know what I just did here.
I don't know, I was going to ask you to make it full screen again.
I put it in the chat, in the meeting.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
So you guys can do it from your phone there.
Thank you.
So again, just take a minute for reflection, and then in any of those areas, I'd love for you guys to share some of that feedback.
No?
Oh, and thank you for that, Catherine. Catherine just put in there that last weekend there was a Queens Distance Runners fundraiser for New York City Kids Rise account. 100% of the contributions went to third graders. Was that you, Esther?
Mm-hmm.
That was you, Esther.
Were you able to get it?
I didn't get it at all.
Anybody else? I put it in the group chat.
I got it. Oh,
No? You have it?
I got it.
Yeah, I got it.
My phone's having issues. I asked you to update it, so maybe that's why. It'll come over later.
So when you're ready, again, you can add it to the Padlet, or you can just shout it out, and
That works.
Jenny will take some notes, and we can add it to the Padlet
I think people are
ourselves.
adding actually for you.
Are they adding already? Great. What's going on with my stuff right now, but
My daughter's having picture day hell. She can't decide on a dress.
and if you don't have access to this and you want to shout out something that you feel is important for, you know, promoting this idea of what it means to be safe in District 25, what it means to be academically rigorous, or what it means to be truly integrated, would love to get your perspectives. Any comments? Dan, you have one?
To Dan, I think I would say that what it means to be socially and emotionally safe in District 25 is to know where your resources are, know where your social worker is in your school, know where your counselor is, making sure that they know you, making sure that everyone knows, every student in that school knows exactly where to find them, what room they're in. I think to be academically safe in District 25 means to know when your teacher, that's particular subject you need help in. It's gonna do tutoring on the school or staying in the early mornings so you can get that extra help when you need it.
Love that, Ben. Thank you. Natasha, anything from you?
I agree with Ben. I think for like academic wise, I think we also need to know what resources are available to you because it can get stressful and overwhelming. With your amount of work.
Speak up.
Oh.
We can't hear you.
So it can get stressful with the amount of workload you have. So like Ben said, like the teacher's hours for extra help, that's just important to have available.
Love that. Anyone else that doesn't have a device that wants to kind of say more?
Are we just choosing from the available information below, or are we giving our own?
So giving your own thoughts, yeah. So if you hit the little plus sign at the top, the little plus sign, you can add your own thought, yeah. So if you had to say an academically rigorous environment for your kids, what would you want that to be? What would you want to see?
That they can always approach their teachers for help, whatever the help is. That they could feel like they could approach any staff member for that matter. Because even the principal, like for example, as a parent, I'm comfortable going to, whether emailing, calling, well, never call, but emailing the principal for whatever reason.
Using the adults as resources for help, for support.
That's very important.
What else?
Develop enough skills to be prepared for college or getting good jobs.
Skill development, career focused.
Also provide, the one-on-one attention and tailor-made solution or treatment to students with special talents in the classroom, or special skills or special abilities.
Anyone else?
We know a rigorous one?
Anyone? Any of them?
I like to add, when I hear rigorous, I hear like, you have expectations on you, like there's there's a bar we want to meet at the school as a whole, not just people that are doing well. We all are trying to aim for the same goals. So that's something I like to think about that.
It's funny, stuff like these are not overly complex questions, but sometimes they're hard to answer, right? Around what we want in terms of safety, academic, rigorous, integrated. And I think, for us, I would love, again, this is just a quick entry in terms of an exercise. I'd love for you guys to really think about that for your kids. What experiences do you want them to really have? Because we're going to always adjust inside of the work that I put forward with our schools. We have to adjust. We have to get better based on the things that we're seeing or experiencing or what our kids are experiencing. And sometimes, we don't say the things that we want just because we're not sure if it makes sense. When we throw them into the pot, we can start really devising what the experiences should be for our children in school. And I know we have a few things that I'll reveal next month around what I'm thinking about going into next year, some of which are already aligned with some of the things that were already mentioned from just a handful of folks. But I challenge you to keep entering into this Padlet so that we have more feedback from you, more feedback from our community around really what do we want our kids to do in our schools. How do we want them to show up? How do we want our teachers to show up? How do we want to make sure that our kids feel really comfortable in coming to school every day? What should that be like? Sometimes it's because I'm nervous about an assessment. Sometimes it's because I'm uncomfortable with the fact that I'm still struggling as a reader, and I know if I go in today, I'm gonna have to read, and I'm really uncomfortable. how do we organize around that? There's so many variables, but I think it's important that you guys are able to share some of your perspectives so that we're thinking about it consistently. If that makes sense. Grace, did you have something else you want to add?
Yeah, about safety. I think students feel they belong to, no matter their culture, ethnia, race, socioeconomic status, and also they can share their thoughts and emotions without fear, like being themselves.
Can I jump in with one quickly?
Of course.
I think something that actually spreads across all three of these is moving from an acceptance model to a celebratory model. Because I think we often frame things through the terms of like gender acceptance, disability acceptance, various things is like acceptance or, seeing. And I think moving more towards celebrating various identities, I think that includes neurodiversity, that includes, disability status, and coming from a place of celebrating the various intersectional identities of our students. And I think that falls under all three of these things because it needs to also be included in our academics.
Thank you for that, Stephen. So listen, this is a starting point. Did you have something, Christine?
Yeah, I was just
go
going to
ahead.
say I threw this in there. Like, obviously, I hadn't really thought very deeply into it, but for academically rigorous, challenging curriculum, not necessarily fast-paced, but encourages students to try in order to learn and understand. High expectations, we want our kids to try, to be motivated, to strive to learn more. Encourage plasticity in thinking and not just regurgitating, truly understanding from multiple perspectives. Teaching how to think outside the box rather than rote memorization or teaching to test. Critical thinking rather than just surface level acceptance, like for reading, what is the unspoken agenda? What makes this factual and worth trusting? What biases might there be?
Love that.
I think, I might have more to throw in there.
Yeah, no, I encourage you to please add because these are really important components to the work that, and it's about sharing how we're doing some of these things already in our schools and where can we get better about it. And as we start framing our goals, and we're starting that now, your feedback will help in shaping that, particularly in these areas. And you see how I have priorities listed next to them. So this idea of safety is around priority 2 from the city around making sure that kids are physically, emotionally safe. Priority 1 and 3 is typically around reading and mathematics. And priority 4 is around this space of building college and career readiness for our kids and ensuring that they have the space of doing so. So I'm not going to spend any more time on this. I just wanted to kind of get an entry point into the conversation with you about, about the importance of making sure that we have a common understanding of where we're going next as a district community. So I encourage you, as you have more time to think, to add some of your feedback into that document and encourage folks around you to do as well. This will also be something I share widely, but my concern is like most things, I feel like we're talking about technology, but sometimes technology also gets ignored when it comes to messages that come through, and it might come through from District 25, and it's like, oh, look at that message, but not really, where some of these things are important to get feedback. So even if we get a small percentage of folks to contribute, it gives us more information. So I encourage you guys to continue to push on that, and I'll revisit this at future meetings. Okay, my last thing for you guys tonight, I promise, is our budget presentation.
Numbers.
Yes, numbers. So, every year, this is part of what we do when we're talking about citywide and district-specific funding and what that looks like for us, what it means in terms of weights, and how our schools receive the budget allocations that they get. Really, really important, especially for you guys as CEC members, but also as members of your own school communities, to know where these dollars are coming from. And where you access it as a parent, because it is accessible to every one of you. All budgets are transparent to everyone, okay? So, we're going to review the New York City Public Schools and district budget, review fair student funding, and review some district web pages. I don't know why this keeps doing that to me. So where does our funding come from? So there are multiple funding sources where New York City gets their dollars to then be shared with our schools. So $27.8 billion comes from New York City. $16.1 billion comes from the state. We get $2 billion from the federal government, and then $0.2 billion come from other sources. A total accounting of $46.1 billion is dedicated to the education budget in New York City, amounting to $34,717 per student. Now, how is this budget allocated, and where do the dollars go to? So, of the $46.1 billion budget, it's distributed across the city within a financial plan. $19.8 billion go to things like employee benefits, debt services, charter schools, non-public and contract schools. And then $26.3 billion is added to K-12 schools, early childhood programs, school operations, field and admin offices, and central administration. And you can see the largest part of said dollars within the $26.3 billion is going directly to schools. 38% for K-12, 6% to early childhood, 12% for school operations. So the large part of that $26.3 billion is going to our schools. In District 25, $695 million is dedicated to our district alone. $475 million comes in the form of fair student funding. Another $32 million for contracts for excellence. $161 million for other state and local funds. $18 million in federal funding for Title I, and then $9 million in terms of other federal dollars. Typically in the form of Title III dollars is where that usually comes from. Now, who decides how the money gets spent? So principals together with their SLTs, and this is an important part of the school leadership team process. Goals are developed and organized to establish what that comprehensive education plan will look like in concert with money that schools get. All of this is aligned, and most of our work inside of our schools is aligned with central and district expectations. So schools are not necessarily creating random goals. We typically try to align all of our work together so that we're coming through the lens of a common purpose. Field teams are also supportive of this in terms of budget directors and our human resources director, so that schools are aligning the allocations that they have with the human resources needs of our schools. Now, in terms of what is fair student funding, so it's the largest funding stream that we have in New York City public schools. The formula is based on enrollment and the specific needs of students. It's a weighted system, so as children have more needs, so too more dollars come to our kids. So based on the cost of meeting students' education needs, whether they're academic or special education needs, more money will be provided to each child. Schools get money for students who need more support. As you can see by the graphic, children on top of books. Some children are on top of more books than others to make sure that the needs that they have are being met with the dollars that are accessible to our schools. So fair student funding also gives principals flexibility in terms of hiring teachers, counselors, support staff, after-school programs, and more. So what fair student funding does not support are charter schools, 3K pre-K, mandated IEP related services and IEP paraprofessionals, D25 programming. It all comes from a different funding source, not fair student funding. So each school receives a foundation set of dollars, which is $225,000 before anything else happens, plus collective bargaining to meet the demands of contracts. Then every school receives a per capita amount per kid, and that is all multiplied by the number of students at a school to give the school their overall budgetary amount. The per capita is updated every year to reflect any changes in citywide average teacher salary. The number of students enrolled at schools always is shifting. It's never necessarily exactly the same. Patterns and trends are certainly available, and our schools are able to decide on what's going to happen in their building based on projections that come out every single school year. But student needs are weighted based on the cost of meeting educational needs, which you'll see on the next slide. So every student at the top of the screen, you'll see that the grade base weight for every child in K-5 starts with the basis of 1. We're all starting with 1, all getting the same amount of dollars for every student in K-5. 6 to 8 is a little bit of an added additional weight, and 9 to 12 a little bit less of a weight than our middle schools. What you'll see here are the academic intervention needs for children that are within the poverty level. There'll be an additional weight that's added to children that are within that space, and then more dollars are added as a result using these weights and the needs that our kids have. So for example, students that are in a standalone English as a new language program, they get additional services, so they will wind up having an additional weight added to their per capita amount for themselves, which would mean more dollars come in for them as a student. So each of these weights are added to each of the kids within our existing school register to eventually come up with the overall dollar amount that a school will receive. And you'll see what that looks like on this slide. And they're using this as though per capita were $1 to give you a little bit of an easier context to see what that means. So the orange is the overall weight that you'll see for Ava and Miles. So Ava starting off with the base layer, and then you will have, oops, let me see if it cuts, okay, there it is. Sorry, you can't see the whole, you'll see the grade weight that is provided for the child. And then you'll see here in blue is the special education field, which says that Ava is a special education learner who has an additional weight added to what her needs are as a student. That Ava is also not only a child who needs special education services, but also needs services for English language, because she's an English language learner, will also receive another weight. Also needs academic intervention support, adds another weight, and so on and so forth, and will come to a total amount of $3.23 if we were talking about it through the lens of $1. Similar, but different at the same time, Miles has different weights that are added to Miles based on his individual needs. His needs a little bit different than Ava's, which will show you that for Miles, his per capita would be at $2.66 versus Ava, who needs a little bit more support, will get $3.23. Does that make sense? Everyone? Yes, I know sometimes the weights are a little bit confusing. But ultimately, the more needs that you have, the more dollars a school will receive in terms of making sure that they have the dollars to support the resources. So you can't have a child that has the need of a multilingual learner without the weighted dollar amount to come with it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to have the multilingual learner teacher there to be able to pay for that person.
So this data
makes sense?
Provided by the school, each school, or provided by
So every school receives their allocation based on the needs of each child that they have.
I don't know if I'm just looking at this wrong. It kind of sounds like if a school has a student body that is performing well, they're getting less funding for it.
So it's a needs-based type of scenario. So
depends on what those needs are while they're, even if they are above, I feel like it depends on if there's other needs like this, like what each child.
So if there's a school that has, they can still be performing well but have multilingual learner needs.
Right.
They could be performing well but they have a special class in terms of a 12-to-1 type of setting or a 12-to-1-to-1 setting. Those children will come with additional dollar allocation. So those dollars are intended to support some of the needs that our kids have. So can it be that you have a school that is performing well where you don't have as many special education learners? You could. There could be a scenario where you don't have as many special education learners.
It just sounds like the performance.
Can you back up for a second because I had a question on the
Sure.
last slide. So in the special education, where does like Horizon and S fall in that? That would be more inclusive, I'm assuming.
So their allocation,
like
Paul, are you still on?
They're like another world.
I'm not sure if Paul is on.
I'm here, Dr. Mike.
Thanks, Paul. It was a question around our Nest and Horizon programs. I'm not sure what weight they receive, but that programming is a little bit different because of the ratio of student to teacher. Is that on here? I'm not sure which one of that.
No, actually, the Horizon is like a 6-to-1 or an 8-to-1 class, and it's a separate allocation. It's not generated from fast student funding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I just wanted to see that screen.
Yeah,
for a second.
the ratio here is not what that is talking about. Yeah. And similarly now when you're looking at it in terms of per capita, this is what it looks like if you were to take that and use it through the lens of the 25-26 per capita amount per child, which is $4,262. And then when you add these additional weights, that's how much money would be coming per student for their for the school. So it's intended to make sure that children, if you're in temporary housing, there's an allocation that comes for that to make sure that any supports that are needed for families and kids that are within a scenario of being in temporary housing, so that there are additional resources to support that. That's what these additional weights are for. So it may be that there are some schools that receive more allocations than others just based on need. Now, certain schools in Flushing, we have a tremendously large amount of multilingual learners, comparatively speaking to other schools in the district that have much fewer. We have schools that have 50% multilingual learners versus schools that have 10%. So they receive a much different allocation for multilingual learners than the other school. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think I just got hung up on the meet standards or well below standards part.
Yeah. Totally get it. But that's the relationship with it. So now there's also, just so that you guys know, there are budget web pages that you guys should be aware of. So on the New York City site, there is a space where you can click Find a School. If you guys haven't experienced that before, it is something that you would be able to access. You click on the school, and then in here you have reports. When you click on reports, it brings you to a series of options for you to choose from. If you were to select budget and finances, it brings you to a whole series of things that you can look at as a parent, it's all public domain, to get an idea of how did this school receive those dollars. Now this is going to be a little bit small, so I apologize for that. Let me kind of blow it up a little bit. When you look at these areas, you have little drop downs, and it'll show you what is happening with the school and how much money they're being allocated to support their program in their building. It's just a nice way for you to have a little bit more information around the fiscal resources that our buildings have in a really transparent way. And I think it's a nice thing for our families to be able to view and get more information on, including other things here. Let me just quickly pop into another one. You look at the budget summary. It'll give you all of the things that are going on in the school in terms of the number of K programs, the number of first grade programs, second grade programs. It tells you the number of teachers within those grades. So it just gives you a lot of information around how budgets are being used inside of a building so that you can, be more supportive, including conversations that we were having earlier around, so we have arts teachers, we have computer teachers, we have dance teachers. What else would we be able to include, right? It creates that opportunity to have that back and forth conversation at the school level.
Mr. Beckham, what is the criteria to define the different ways? Could you say that from K to 5, just 1, and middle schools 1.08, and for all days 103?
Yes.
So what is the criteria for that difference?
It's just the grade weight that has been established in order for schools to do what they need to do. So the middle school weight is just a little bit higher to account for all of the programming needs that a middle school has. It is just a little bit different. programming wise for a middle school than it is in elementary. So the weight is a little bit higher for that. Yeah.
When do schools usually submit the budget application?
So they don't receive a budget application. Schools will receive their budget. So they get their budgets in June based on projected registers. So, for example, 242 might have a projected register of 380 kids.
Who determines the projection?
So the projection is based from at the city level. There's a review of current trends in students that are coming in terms of applications for kindergarten. You know, children that are living in the community, maybe have left the community. So there's a whole analysis that goes into the projection that a school then gets. And then from that, the school will receive allocation based on said projection. If we get to September and school doesn't get 380 kids, they have 450 children, they'll make a budget adjustment so that you can support the additional 70 children that you have. And likewise, although the city has held schools harmless up until this point, if you had a projection of 380 children, and you have a dollar amount for 380 children, and your school year starts and you only have 300, then you basically have a shortfall of dollars. You have more money than you should be having as a school by 80 kids. So those dollars cannot be expected to just remain in the school just because it was given to you. Up until this point, it's been held harmless. But we'll see what happens in future budgets, whether or not that is the case.
So you can't just use it before it gets called back?
No. Avoid, and there are logical reasons why that really can't happen. You know, in general, fiscally, it's not. You know, it wouldn't make sense to give you money for 100 more children than what you have. You know, what's that?
I'm sure they could use it.
Oh, 100%. One thing that you never wanted to give me as a principal was money, because I was spending that as soon as I could. I loved to spend, especially when it was not my own. I was like, let's go. You know, so. But that's why they have the kind of checks and balances. Here's the projection, but here's what you have. And they adjust it based on October 31st registers in our schools. And they'll make a change one way or the other based on that. So if schools have more kids than what they were expecting, they'll get an adjustment to their budget.
As a district, have we been trending lower?
Yes. So since COVID, we changed from a district, at least pre-K through 8, of having, at its peak, I want to say it was about 26,500 children. We are a little over 23,000 right now. So yes, since then we have not necessarily recovered the number of kids that we had at that time. Yeah. Okay, let me quickly go back to this. I know that I've spoken a lot to you guys already, so.
Quick question. So
yeah.
if they take the money from one school, do they give it to another?
So remember, every school gets it based on the number of children. It's not just an additional allocation that becomes, you know, well, you might need more, but here's the number of kids that you have. Let's just give you additional dollars. It doesn't work that way. It's based on the number of children that you have. In terms of creating that space of ensuring that there is fairness in the budget, it can't be just, well, no, you look like you can use more, we're going to give you more. It's always based on the number of kids and the needs that kids have.
So then what happens to that funding that they take back?
So everything there's always checks and balances within the system to make sure that the dollars are allocated based on what we have. You know, schools get funded based on the number of children they have. If the children aren't there, it doesn't come with the dollars to support it.
Right, it's just if it's overall, it's trending lower, then presumably the money is being taken back.
So remember, up to this point, the schools have been held harmless for that. So it hasn't been a scenario where we're paying back hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? But, you know, financial circumstances change over time, and whether or not they can still do that, you know, that changes on a year-to-year basis, whether or not affordability-wise it can happen. But at any rate, the tools that I shared with you is how you go and find the budget. I encourage you to look for your own schools. It's present here. It's pretty available to anyone that wants to go there. What you need to do is go on the Department of Ed website, It'll show you projections of this school was projected to have 145 students. They fell short of enrollment by 7 students in the projections for student needs. So things get adjusted based on said amounts. So you see where you see projected, the register change, and then the final register. Everyone sees that? Where it goes from $1 amount, and then in the red, that's how much money that you would be in the red, and then you get your final register adjustment amount of money. Right? Yeah.
So the city council members sometimes give out money, let's say PS24. Those funds is part of the budget, or is
Those are different allocations.
Money.
Yeah. So reso-way allocations are typically for things like the auditorium upgrades.
Yeah.
They'll do a library. They'll do technology upgrades. They might do a schoolyard.
Yeah.
Those are the types of things that those allocations typically go to.
Isn't it beyond the control of the DOE?
What's that?
Those funds are beyond the control of DOE.
Well, I mean, remember, they're getting an allocation that's coming from revenue that the city generates. A lot of that money comes from, a larger portion of the school dollars comes from the city.
Yeah.
Another portion, as I mentioned at the very, very beginning of this, let me quickly go to that.
From the state.
Yep. We get money from the state, we get money from the federal government, but the lion's share of the dollars, when you look at it, and for us it's 68% of those dollars come from fair student funding. That's coming from a city-generated allocation. Yeah. But you'll also see the contracts for excellence. A lot of these dollars are coming in multiple funding sources. So schools, and some of them you can use. So fair student funding is the most flexible. You can use that for supplies, materials, all this, that, and the other thing, teacher salaries. When you're talking about Title I funds, it comes with absent fringe benefits. So when you use it to hire a teacher, that teacher costs more using the state dollars than it would from the fair student funding dollars, right? So it doesn't include those fringe benefits. So there are lots of things that schools need to do with our budget directors to make sure that we're using it as wisely as we can. Yeah. Say again?
Sounds like a game.
Yeah, well, I mean, I always did my budget as a principal, and try to maximize the amount of dollars and cents that you get to support kids, and that's what we do, and that's why we have folks like Paula that help us do that in our buildings. Yeah. All right, are we good? Yeah, I think so. I know I talked a lot. I know I talked a lot. Sorry, guys. I thought that's why I said no soapbox today. Otherwise, we wouldn't have finished. But thank you guys as always.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Mike. I'm gonna just quickly go over a few things. It's not gonna take me 10 minutes. I don't know if you guys saw, but Equity Council elections, the emails went out for that, so get your votes in. Panel for Educational Policy, they are accepting applicants until 11:59 tonight. And I had a meeting with District Planning. They will be coming next month to speak with us about the Water's Edge School and also about a possible school in College Point. So we should be hearing from them next month. With that being said, I'm going to open the floor for public speaking. I know, Catherine, you were waiting very patiently, so I'm going to...
Can I just say one quick thing about that? So the school in College Point that we're talking about is a new high school.
High school level.
That is in College Point. It's the old St. Agnes school, which is being adjusted to become a high school over in College Point. So that is what is in process with. I just wanted to give a little bit more context. Yeah.
So, Catherine, I'm going to call on you first, and I know Arlene has her hand as well. So after that, Arlene, you'll be up next.
Okay, hopefully I'm not too long. But hi, everyone. I just came across some information that iReady is being sued for allegedly data farming our students, our kids. And it's a class action lawsuit that they're saying they're collecting the student names, locations, IP addresses, creating different psychological profiles on them based on response times. And I was just curious because I know I didn't set up my kids' iReady accounts. So I'm curious, what information do we gets front loaded in order to create their accounts? What kind of consent does the DOE provide? Because parents aren't asked for consent in order to opt their kids in or out of iReady. And was the DOE provided with any type of privacy promises? And we were talking about budgets tonight. I don't know if the iReady budget is listed anywhere, but I am curious how much it is, how much it's costing us. I know it's like probably individual by school, but if we could maybe just have a ballpark, I'm curious what that might be. So that's what I came on to ask about tonight.
So before Dr. Mike chimes in, Catherine, just so you know, I know that there was actually other parents at our school specifically that did bring up that concern this week, and so it has started to circulate. I hadn't heard about it until somebody else brought it up, and then I was like, oh, where'd this come from? So I know it is.
Yeah,
being talked about.
yeah, it's definitely in the news, and they are at the city level monitoring it. But like any other type of program like this, iReady does also go through the IRMA process. They have to make sure that they are cleared in terms of data privacy and security. That is for sure. In terms of the dollars from the diagnostic is covered for schools. They don't have to pay for the diagnostic itself. But schools themselves have the option to utilize the instructional part, which I think is probably what you're talking about, Catherine, the instructional support. I can't say with certainty how much it costs each individual child. But there is most definitely a fee for each child to use the instructional component of the platform. I can definitely find that out what it is per kid, but there is definitely a cost that is accompanied with schools purchasing the instructional side of the iReady software. But there are intended, processes that programs like that are to go through in terms of ensuring security and data, privacy and data and all of that stuff. It's one of those that goes through that's gone through the IRMA process. But it is something that is being monitored for sure.
And do you know what type of information that we front load into the app for that? I mean, obviously our kids are tracked from the very minute that their accounts are created. So for years now, they've been collecting data on each of my 3 kids. What data did they start with? What did we freely give to them? I'm just curious how each of those accounts gets set up.
Yeah, there's really honestly it's just a marker of who the child is. I mean the specifics of exactly what comes to them is not extensive. It's just to say that oh my goodness, remind me of your kids' names.
Joe, Lauren, and Stephanie.
Stephanie. So this is a marker that this is Stephanie and how Stephanie might have done on a diagnostic, which will then guide Stephanie into the instructional part of the program. And that then classroom teachers are able to see how Stephanie wound up performing on said assessment. So there is not, there is not necessarily this, data sharing part of it, at least that I'm aware of that I can kind of speak with certainty about. Other than kid takes an assessment, schools now have access to it, and then they move on in terms of their kind of pathway to support their learning needs. But it's not, it's something I can certainly try to gather more information on in terms of what actually goes into it, but it's basically a marker to know that Stephanie is Stephanie.
Okay, so yeah, okay. So how much longer are we doing this with? It's just my least favorite software. Okay, just curious. I mean, and there haven't been a lot of strong indicators. Also, there was a recent study also at Johns Hopkins that the results that the conclusions they came to in this study were that all these hours that our kids are putting into iReady outside of the classroom are not necessarily providing closing any learning gaps or really bridging any divides that that they should be at this, especially this is years later now that we've been using the software. And we should be able to point to how to yes, iReady is it's a valuable tool, and this we can see that the gains have happened exactly in this area. Or and you know, Johns Hopkins has said that that is not happening. I don't feel that my kids have particularly benefited from it either. So
Yeah,
anyway.
I think some of the things that we have seen, you know, even in context of the sprint that we had done from last year, I'm sure that you may be, you know, you might recall that just being part of the CEC where we did the sprint, where kids were utilizing it with regularity. We did see evidence of improvement as a result. Now, that's a one-time thing. I can't tell you with certainty from my standpoint that you know, that routine use of it will have that same exact result this year. But I do think it is a tool that does give us information on kids and where they're at, you know, and ways that we can support it. Now, there can be different conversations around the frequency of application, you know, and if it's being used too much. I always say too much is too little in return. When it comes to most things, we do too much of anything, and you wind up getting, you know, less of the result that you're hoping for, because kids are, you know, are not as interested if they have to do it with a huge amount of frequency. So that can be a bigger conversation. One of which at 193, the kids actually called me on to come into their school to talk to them about.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
Oh, they did. We had a whole
It's
conversation
over an
about it.
hour each week.
Yeah, we had a whole conversation about it.
I'm not surprised.
So, you know, those are things that, you know, I think do exist at the school leadership team level, and what it means across classrooms, and whether or not we're utilizing it with too much frequency. You know, I do think entry points around specific areas can benefit, you know, our learners. I do. But I think if it's overkill, then it becomes like most things, like I'm doing it but not doing it. It's almost like reading a book that you're not really interested in, and you're really staring at a blank page. Because why? Mom told me I have to go and read that book, so I'm going to open the book, I'm going to pretend like I'm reading, and then when you ask me what it was about, I'm going to talk to you about the first 3 sentences that I paid attention to, and then hope that mom or dad doesn't ask me the next question, which is about sentences 4 through whatever on the page. So I do think frequency matters in most things, but I hear what you're saying, Catherine.
Thanks, Catherine.
Thank
Arlene,
you.
you had your hand raised as well?
Yes, I just wanted to let you know that the community board has been contacted by the DOT. They have plans on making the speed limit around all schools 15 miles an hour, and they're asking us for our input. I mean, I have my thought, which I have always stated. I think that in front of every school, it should be a one-way street. Now, not every school can accommodate that. Some can. They can even make angled parking on the other side. But this was for safety reasons that they're proposing this. And I'm asking you for input. We have 50 days to respond. And if you all, I don't want to waste any more of your time tonight, but if you can respond, you have my email address. The office has it. I would appreciate any input you have or any suggestions you have on the 15 miles, limit, or other things that you might know that are happening around your schools that we can improve on with the DOT to protect both the parents and the children, the buses and the cars. And we know there's a problem. It's always been a problem. We'll never resolve it, but at least we can give some input. So if you have anything, any suggestions, please contact me. I'm always available. Thank you.
And I will make sure everybody has her email.
Yeah, I love that, Arlene. And just so you know, Arlene, some of our students have actually connected with some of our local elected officials because of the speed that has happened across, right in front of our buildings, which actually resulted in one of our school crossing guards getting hit by a car last year. So the students have taken it upon themselves to advocate for a stop sign or a speed bump in front of their schools so that it was more safe. So I understand why this might be coming up, because it is a little bit dangerous around some of our buildings. Some of them.
Mike, if I might say, they sent us the list of the names and they were read off at the meeting, and every one of our schools in District 25 were cited. So that's why I'm concerned that we hear from, because you're the people who have more information about your school community. That's why I would really like some input, because we need to protect. Whether the 15 miles will do any better than the 20, I don't know. There are bumps that have been placed in front or main thoroughfares, because some schools, the front of the building is on a narrow street. Other schools, they're on the main thoroughfare, and I don't know how they could make that one way. But please, if you think of things, if you know of things, please let me know. Thank you.
Okay, with that being said, anyone want to make a motion? Second, anybody? Second. Okay, it is 9:32. Take 2 minutes.
You totally
and we're
will
going.
be on this one.
Because we got to be on by 10. Angela.
I had a lot to talk about. Sorry.
No, literally 2 minutes and I'm starting. Thank you, everyone online.
Bye, Catherine.
Bye, Catherine. I'll see you at school.
Bye, guys.
What's hot in here too, no?
Sean, I need you to sign mine. I'm going to take yours and I'm done. And I'm just going to put it in a file. Give me a second. Sean, you didn't have anything to say tonight?
You know, I'm quiet. Nothing.
Can you give Mary the next date and I'll message her?
May 6th, right? Yeah.
Because I would like to get her to come. I know she couldn't do today, but.
And you know what? I went through this whole thing and I didn't even talk about testing.
It's coming up.
It's happening right now. I didn't even say anything about it.
I gotta cut some of this. I understand the number one in terms of time limits with attendance.
The largest amount?
Largest on the reports, yeah.
No.
I'm doing a data thing.
This is the longest one we've had this entire year. I'm usually good.
I usually have a timer on him.
This one I had a lot. I had to talk about artificial intelligence. I had to do the budget meeting.
Restaurants. I love blacks.
I love blacks. I have all of them in a pile for you. Okay. I'm saving them.
Good seeing you.
Yeah, Sorry. That was done? No, I didn't sign that. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Started a scholarship at our school.
Yes, today's been a long day.
Hold on. Vincent, Christine.
That's fantastic. That's great. If more and more people do that, if those kids every year get another donation
Did Shauna take mine?
their account, it's just going to accelerate. It really will. There was one account that they used as a demo yesterday that was a real actual kid. Maybe in second grade already $644 in
Ian,
their
for the
account.
meeting minutes, do we care about typos and names?
What?
For meeting minutes, do
Yeah.
we care about typos and names?
Yeah.
Do we care about what?
Esther was talking about getting things posted on the Insta.
We can point it out. Wait. I have them in order. This is everybody else's. I'm sorry. The date and the effective date.
Esther from 244.
Sorry. I'm like, hold on. Vincent.
Yeah, love it. Thank you, Esther.
Okay, 1 minute warning.
You talked so much this time.
I know, I did so much talking. He said, oh my god, they're all coming up to you.
I had to do the budget, I had to do AI. What do you want me to do?
I don't know, in all honesty, because
oh my god. Stephanie, Ken.
All right, that's it, Ken. I got 20 minutes
Okay.
next time, that's it.
Everybody ready?
But
That's it, I'm not drawstring. You get me, you pull it
Sorry,
too
you have
much.
mine somewhere.
it
Let me sign it. I gave it to you to go back. You gave it to Egypt? Egypt.
I have a copy. Okay.
Everybody ready? These are all the others. I know Shauna gave you mine.
Okay, yeah.
That's everyone else. Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order. You can grab your food and listen as we go. 9:36. Egypt roll call.
I can't believe you made this go so long.
Eden?
Yes.
Is Shirley still here?
Shirley's still on.
I'm still here.
glad you guys are still smiling though, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm here, so work
Stephanie has a list.
Ray,
Yes.
Shauna,
Here.
Steven,
Here.
Kent,
Yeah.
Natasha, and Ben.
Awesome. Can everyone quickly just look at the minutes, see if there's any changes we need to make, and let me know if we're good to adopt the minutes? Like, let's go. I'm speeding us up now, guys. You said you saw something typo was?
I handed it over.
You gave it to her already?
She gave it to me.
Okay, so does anybody else see anything? Anybody see anything in the minutes? I'm trying to make this quick.
What did you do? Turn the air off on us?
I know, they're telling us to get out. They're telling me to hurry up. I said it was getting warm at one point. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns? Can we adopt the minutes as is from last month? Okay, perfect. Moving on. Shauna, yes. Your report.
Yes.
Let's just keep going.
So for reimbursements, we have $2,884 left. For meeting expenses, we have about $2,500 left. P-card still has $500 on it. Supplies, we have $702 left. Equipment repairs and equipment are both at zero.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody have any school visits in the month of March? Just add that to
154.
154? Okay, anybody else?
Where a lot of the budget conversations coming up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any other
Okay.
schools?
I can tell you.
Anybody else school?
I'm skipping the award ceremony for a minute, so. That's it. Okay,
just waiting for
awesome.
19. Thank you.
Okay, so before we go into the award ceremony, I'm just gonna quickly go over planning for May, because I know that'll make it quick. We do have the C4E presentation. We might have to pick a date in June as a backup date other than our award ceremony date, just in case. I am working on Mary Vaccaro coming about the AI pilot at 185. Like I said, district planning will be coming. We'll be finalizing everything for the award ceremony. By then we will have everything to show you. That's a separate thing in itself. We'll have soapbox speeches again, Dr. Mike, and we will be starting to work on the superintendent evaluation for the year, which I will get everybody a copy of so you guys can start looking at it. So hopefully we can get that done next month. Does anybody have anything else they want to add to the agenda for next month? Or is that good?
Remember I was talking about the L, resolution for, I don't have it with me now, but for L learners, for that particular, CEC. When I went to their, breakfast a few months ago.
So with Whitney? When you were with Whitney? Was Whitney there for that one? You sent me a message about one of them.
The CELL, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I should have probably told you back then, but they wanted to, they were hoping all CECs could do a resolution. The premise of it is to make it easier for else for the parents to have a, position in the group. I'm going blank, sorry, I'm so tired.
It's okay.
But, I think we should, do it, that's just my.
If you can send us more about that, and then we can look at it and see if somebody wants to take that on.
I did.
Then, like, find it and just, like, re-forward it to us in the group? Okay, perfect. Does somebody don't have to vote on that?
No,
Okay.
this is partial,
Okay, so the last thing is the award ceremony, just to kind of loop everyone in. Packages got delivered, but to a school in the Bronx.
Oh my gosh.
Eden's laughing, I genuinely don't find it.
She's like done, she's over it already.
Because the thing is,
The PO got screwed
I'm
up.
not sure how they got an address from the Bronx.
No, they've done that to me too, so.
She's been very frustrated
From
this
the
week.
PO, because all of, the things that we've been ordering have been coming to the correct address.
But she keeps getting different responses, and the principal was like
And it
giving
got
us mixed
delivered over
answers.
spring break, so nobody's in school, so whatever the case may be. I've been working on this since last week. I let it go, but because of nobody being in the school.
Now we're trying to like push for
I've
it.
been working on this since Monday now, trying to get these things, and I'm trying to get it at least today for you guys to view, Because all of the awards are there.
Everything
The
there.
umbrellas, the crystals, the medals.
Medals, everything.
Everything is there at the school. I'm just trying to.
It's multiple
get
boxes in
UPS
there.
To pick them up from that location and be able to.
It sounds like
Do we know
tomorrow.
do we know what school?
006 West Farms.
Can you just send it to me in an email and I'll connect with the superintendent from that district?
You know what?
See?
Like you there.
Now she's laughing and smiling. I will say the last email we got said something between 12 and 10 and 2.
Because I spoke
We're
to
gonna
the
try.
secretary of the school. She said, because I sent her all of the recreated labels from.
They made new
Word
labels
Print. She put them on the boxes, so hopefully we can get them tomorrow.
Okay.
The goal is
I
that they're gonna pick
still
them up.
send you that email.
But if you don't receive it, then just send it to me and
Thank you so
we'll work to get it.
So that was the first piece, which is why I said we'd come back to that discussion. It's been interesting watching the email thread. I kind of lost track of all the threads because it's so much. The second is Dr. Mike and I were talking earlier. We're finalizing what school we're going to use.
Yeah, I'll get you that by tomorrow.
So once he has a school, we will get in touch with them, make sure everything's all set up. Lewis, are you going to send out your handy dandy email?
Yeah, we'll take care of all that.
Oh, what's your date? June 10th.
Yep, I will work on that tomorrow so we can get the names from families, from schools.
From schools, yeah.
And just as a reminder, it is June 10th, so that month's meeting is our awards ceremony. That is the June meeting. However, we may need a date that same week, right? You're saying?
Oh, yeah.
In that week, for C4E if it's not ready for May. So we might need to add an extra meeting in June for an emergency meeting, but it would be a very quick meeting at that point.
I'm sorry, what's C4H? You was looking.
I'm telling you, they shut
I'm ready for you.
How do I explain what it is?
What's that?
C4E.
A contract for excellence money.
It's
So,
more budget stuff.
so I want to say it's about 20 years ago, there was a lawsuit regarding the city receiving the allocation that it required to make sure that schools receive the money that they required to run our schools. So if you saw in the budget presentation, there was a C4E section, contract for excellence money, that comes to the city to support ongoing programming. So that's what the C4E thing is.
It's a very quick presentation though.
It'll share a little bit about what those dollars are, why it happened, and all of that stuff.
So next month, if we can't do it, I will have us pick a date that we can come in for an emergency meeting. We'll get it on the calendar. It'll be less than an hour.
Yep.
Quick, 1, 2, 3. Anything else? Award ceremony. Once we start getting the names, Egypt will start working on the awards. So we have all that ready, and then as we get closer, once I have all the names and everything, I'm gonna just kind of go through the list and count how many we have, and split based on all the members, so we each take a turn calling names. Some of us have done that before. I know you saw last year how we do it, so you'll each kind of call a group of students up or staff as they come up, and we'll all be up there shaking their hands with Dr. Mike and on the stage for the evening.
Go down the line.
Is there like a phonetic spelling as well?
We give it to you at enough time that you can practice the names. I promise.
Yeah.
We went through that. We've had some names that are hard to pronounce.
Yes, for sure.
But other than that, I think we're in a good place for the award ceremony because we actually did get everything in. Even though it's not physically here, we know that it's nearby. It's closer than it's ever been in the past.
Has anyone ever gone to the awards ceremony? The awards night? At the end of the year?
Grace was with us last year, but that was it, yeah.
I tried to go online, but I couldn't,
But yeah, you're able to watch online, you can be there, it's a really nice event. Some of the little ones are the cutest.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause we
2
had kids
years,
in the
2
pre-K
years
center.
ago was my favorite.
He had a kid like giving him a hug, everything, and like,
I
usually
kneeled
find
next
them
to
like
him
crying
just
because
to
they're
kind of take a
nervous.
picture, and he just gave me the biggest, it was the cutest thing.
So, it's a really nice night though. But other than that, once we know the school, we'll talk about getting like some like snacks for the kids to have and waters, things like that.
Yeah, we did have one that agreed, but the air conditioning is a concern there, so we're not going to go to a place that does not have
Yeah,
air
no,
in
we
the
need AC
auditorium.
at that hour.
Too hot.
In June, we're gonna need the AC.
Maybe we should.
So, with that being said, I don't have anything else
They're in
unless
the
anybody
process.
else has anything.
It's not ready yet.
So what's we were gonna try a new room setup, right? That was the purpose of the owl.
So we were trying to make it so that so if you notice, it's split between us. So it's actually capturing all of us now.
But I thought our main purpose was to not have our backs to anybody who comes in physically.
So reconfigure, put it in the back.
The reconfiguration of the room.
Oh, that's up to you guys. I'm not part of the council, so I wouldn't be able to.
We're talking about like where we're facing that way, but then I feel like we're also not facing that.
Oh, that's true. So didn't we talk about going to that side? I don't know, I wasn't really clear on it, but.
If you were
That
to
was my
go to
impression
this
too.
side, the camera would have to still sit up here because the computer is up here.
So it's very far at that point.
Connected to the
Need a
computer
really
at all
long
times.
cord.
That's why that
The
wire.
cord would have to get longer and longer.
I'm not sure how you guys would want to rearrange
Stretching over there
sitting,
already, bro.
but there are side chairs here on the side. Sometimes you guys don't have a large audience as as expected.
But I know like
to be.
these, they have been using some of them in the past couple of meetings.
These two, we just like extend one on each side and then the middle can just be audience. Does that
I mean, I guess you guys want to be.
It's hard because we're supposed to be sitting at the table together, basically.
I don't know. I'm just like I said, it's up to you.
I mean, we could still think about it. I mean, even over the summer, we still have our meetings, so if we don't figure it out between now and June.
Between now and the
Yeah,
next
we
meeting.
could play and just kind of, I could jump on with Egypt and play around with Zoom, things like that. But we could still kind of look into that still a little bit more.
Regarding the 2K program,
I'm timing you because we're gonna get kicked out in 12 minutes.
2K, no. No,
We're not getting that yet.
not for us just yet.
Okay. Anybody
But
else?
there will be additional 3K opportunities in the district. Yeah.
Awesome.
Not 2K, but we'll have additional 3K.
For the September.
For September.
He's planning for baby.
He started thinking.
They announced it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have one on the 31st.
Yeah, California.
I'm spazzing out tonight.
Is it time to do motion?
Yes, please.
Motion?
9:49, second? Second. Andrew seconding. Done.
Bye, guys. Get them safe.
Bye, Shirley.
Bye. Feel better.
Good night. Bye. Good night.
It's all my fault, that's it.
I don't understand what you're doing. You're talking.
Dr. Mike.